Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. 5 play days later, and we only have one more left. Welcome back to United States Challenge League Season 1 as a part of the North American League. I'm Caliber Jacob Anderson, joined as always by the amazingly, illustriously, incomparable Mr. Henry Redcube Danish. My dude, one more play day left. We are almost through the books on USCL. How you feeling tonight?
Jacob, I'm extremely excited for this matchup today because, well, the last time we casted the end of something, it was the complete and total termination of Challenger League as we knew it. Here we are again casting the end of something, but now it's just of Stage 1. With that, Jacob, comes stakes. And that leads to my question for you. What are they?
Tonight, it's PogChamp versus Joe Esports, two teams that were playing in last season of Challenger League, but right now, both of them sit at second place in their respective groups in Challenger League, PogChamp in Group A and Joe Esports in Group B. Both of them currently sitting at 2-1 records, and they're both in second place, so now we have to figure out which one of them sits in third and fourth. And what comes with that is an increase in overall cash prize for this stage, and they will obviously both move on to Stage 2 when that happens in September. They're both completely safe from relegations. However, we do have a score to settle, and we have a couple of maps to get through. So let's figure out where we're playing in the battlegrounds that we will start on this evening. It is once again a best of 3. We will, hopefully in due time, everyone will realize that best of 3s really are the way to go in North America because, oh man, they're so much fun to cast.
So just looking at these map bands, we can see it's going to be Cafe, Consulate, and Oregon. And right off the rip, we can see that I think this leans in favor of PogChamp just slightly. If we look back at Cafe, we can see that Joe has a 0-1 record on that map, but that is outside of CL. Their most recent result that has been recorded was in Siege Rivals. They lost 8-7 against Thunder Logic, and that was on the map of Cafe. PogChamp, on the other hand, they have a 1-0 record on Cafe, and they actually also won 8-7. So there's not too much there to give and take, but then when we move over to Consulate and Oregon, this is when things start to get a little bit more one-sided. Consulate, it's a 2-0 map record for Joe, both of which were against favelas, and, well, if you look at PogChamp, they have an 0-1 record on Consulate. So it's really interesting to see this map ban because you have one map that's fairly even. You have Consulate, which seems to be leaning towards Joe, but then you have Oregon, which heavily is in favor of PogChamp, and that is also the decider map. So if this does go to a best of 3, Jacob, what do you think is going to happen here?
It's going to take a lot of fortitude for PogChamp to pull out on Cafe. Like you said, they don't have nearly as much time spent on it, but they do have a victory, and Joe right now is sitting at an overall loss, so the stats themselves don't lie. When we get into Cafe, we'll see how things turn out, but I think if PogChamp are able to win Cafe and Joe can win theirs, or if they win each other's maps and we head to Oregon, I still agree. This definitely favored PogChamp in the ban phase because of their record on Oregon, so this map is already pivotal for Joe, because if they want to win out, they might only be able to do it in 2 maps. If it gets pushed to 3, at that point, it might already be a little bit too far.
Right now for Joe, it's a win now mentality, because if they force it to Oregon, I think that's going to be a problem. But here we are on the map of Cafe. The end of Stage 1 is on the horizon. Let's look at these operator bans.
PogChamp usually like to ban out Thatcher, or there's been a pretty good track record for them banning Thatcher over the course of the CL season. Obviously, Cafe can be done kind of on a case-by-case basis, and Joe does have the first ban, but they will remove Thatcher anyway. So PogChamp already pretty used to not having a Thatcher on the board, regardless of what map they're playing. So I think that's, for them, not something that can really shake them up that much. But again, whatever their other attack ban is, they do like to spread their bans around a little bit more. It's really is done more on a map-by-map basis. It's very situational. So if they want to mix things up, there's plenty of options, and Maverick makes sense. I was going to say another hard breacher if they wanted to make things even more complex, but an IQ here is also a pretty optimal ban as well. So not something that is totally unexpected from PogChamp.
No, not at all. I think bans as of late, especially with how the meta is turning, we start to see the same thing happen over and over and over again. Thatcher Maverick ban is very common, especially on a map like Cafe. When you move on to defense, you're probably going to see an Echo Mira ban, and well, there's one of them. Down goes the Mira, and I think to follow is probably going to be an Echo or a Maestro. Sometimes, though, we have seen that Joe likes to get creative with their defensive bans. They're not too consistent, similar to how PogChamp is. They're a little bit more fluid with their defensive bans, but then when it comes to attack, it's kind of the same old, same old. I'm probably going to expect this is going to be an Echo nonetheless, but it should still be interesting to see. No, it's going to be a Valkyrie. That also works as well. We have seen the Valk band start kind of to resurge itself into the competitive play of things. Happens a lot on Coastline, happens a decent bit on Cafe, and well, we're going to be seeing one here today.
You're right, a Valkyrie ban is beginning to fit more into the meta on really any map. I think Consulate's obviously the one where we see it played out most often, but
for sure,
the question now becomes, if you're not comfortable with a Valkyrie, you have to be comfortable with the possibility of an Echo, and Joe did have the second ban, so it's really up to them about whether or not they want to keep it on the board or if they want to play it themselves. So it might be a little bit before we get to a point where they're cool using it. I think the top floor bomb site when we head to Cocktail is one where we do tend to see Echo played a little bit less, because there's less places to position and just kind of sit tight behind yokais as compared to other sites on the same map if they want to keep their options open. But, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the final night of USCL. It's a pleasure to have taken you through this so far. PogChamp and Joe, two teams that you and I both casted at different points in the previous iteration of Challenger League, and they didn't change their names, so we really are having a big flashback moment right now.
It kind of feels good. The one thing they have changed slightly, though, is their roster. So if you look at both of these teams, you can see a couple new names have surfaced onto both of them. It's been 2 changes for both. So if you look over at PogChamp on the left side of your screen, you can see that Jarvis and Sweater has joined the party. And then on the right side of the screen, Beastly and Prophecy has joined the party over on Joe. Both of these roster moves, in my opinion, have been upgrades, but it feels like PogChamp has just gotten used to their roster move a little bit quicker. When I talked to Joe before this matchup, I talked to all the teams before their games and just asked very simple questions to kind of get a gauge of how they feel. They said that there is a little bit of an internal issue going on right now that's resulting in rounds being lost. That was the answer that I got from Joe. PogChamp, it was the complete opposite. They said the synergy and the chemistry they have with each other is second to none, and they believe they are the closest team in terms of personality, in terms of friendship in CL this season. So could that resurface here? Could that be what separates these two teams on all 3 of these maps? We're just going to have to wait and see.
4 members of the attacking side are going to already start focusing on the roof, and Trippin looks like he's dropped through the red hatch as Thermite. Maybe he can get the red wall open when he has enough coverage already on Piano, and that's where Sweater is playing. He's just sitting on his drone trying to clear out intel. He's already got the call that there's nothing on the wall, so Trippin will be able to get this open no problem. He does have Diffuser in his control, and there is a mute plane down below who can get excellent positioning if Trippin wants to make his way through. This could very well be the fight he needs, and the Nitro Cell comes a little prematurely as it doesn't do anything to Trippin. He's still got Diffuser well in his hand, and the mute has not done his job effectively. The intel that could have been gained from a Valkyrie probably in that situation already coming back to bite Joe a little bit.
Yeah, so just like that, they know that a mute is going to be lurking downstairs, and it's going to be up to Sweater to try to pinch him out. They have some type of intel on him, and they're trying to get the kill, and they do. That's as easy as it can get. 1, 2, 3, and he's dead. Say goodbye to your Wimpy, say goodbye to your C4 that he tossed prematurely, and just like that, the advantage is in favor of PogChamp, 5-4.
Defensive-sided map, not the thing you want to start out with initially for Joe, but it's probably not the worst thing in the world, as there still is an attack strategy that PogChamp have to execute on. We got over half the round left, and Rethinking might be trying to play something really, really long if he comes back up white. He can make his way into Piano, but Sweater and Jarvis both droning and prod. He's making his way through Fireplace. The fight might be between him and the Jaeger if he's not careful enough. He'll knock out the intel and then continue to play passively. He's not giving the Jaeger too much. He's giving him all the space in the world. He's giving him all the respect that he needs to continue to clear this part of the map out. And everything now for PogChamp is situated upstairs, continuing to work on the roamers, and Ghost will also now try to work on any defenders he sees downside.
Yeah, we can see that map control has been basically gifted to the side of PogChamp, and is going to result in yet another kill. The execute is going to have to come soon because there's only 20 seconds left, and well, it's also a 4v2. This looks like it's going to be a round win here for PogChamp, but let's Rethinking and Clicks can piece something together in the later 15 seconds of this round. Slowly but surely, we can see the Zofio creeping in on the Jaeger. That's going to be a nice shot there from Rethinking. He's able to find one, and Clicks is able to find another, making it a 2v2. It's going to be Jarvis, though, taking down Clicks, and Prod there to follow. It got close, very close, and I think too close for comfort for this side of PogChamp, but in the end, they still won that round out. Great roam clear, great map control, and finally the execute on the site resulted in very valuable kills.
1-0 for PogChamp. You needed that kind of fast start. super defensive sided. They already know the kind of things that they need to bring on a map that does tend to swing in this favor, and they had a really effective roam clear on 2 separate floors that stopped Joe dead in their tracks. Rethinking and Clicks, they had almost everything they needed to stop it right at the very end, but unfortunately for them, they will need to give it another shot. They will opt to not go for Cocktail one more time. Kitchen Service is our battleground second time around, and I do think that, I mean, you do have the Echo in play. My question is, how effective is that being left on the board going to be, especially if Joe opts to simply not bring something that has long-range ACOG, that has yokai effects. There's plenty of benefits to bringing an Echo, even if they're not immediately noticeable.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's something we necessarily have to focus on going forward. Right now, they're opting to play it pretty safe. They're bringing multitude of support ops. They are bringing a Pulse as opposed to a Mute this time around, and they're not bringing anybody for wall denial, which does beg the question, are they going to try to stop Trippin dead in his tracks and maybe even try to go for a pick on him before he's able to get an exothermic up to open a wall? Joe will need to prove to be more aggressive if they want to stop any potential of a hard breach.
We could potentially see one of the Joe players also play in Bakery, trying to stop that Thermite from progressing onto the wall, but I actually like this Pulse pick a lot. The problem last round was you just didn't have a lot of intel for the defensive team. The Mute lost his C4 because of a sound call. He also then died because he didn't know where he was getting pushed from, and then the Execute came on the site, and it felt like Joe just didn't know where it was coming from. They have a Pulse now. They don't have the Echo, which is also very valuable intel, but you have to start somewhere, and gaining a Pulse, gaining that heartbeat scanner, and just kind of being able to pinpoint where people are is a great place to start.
Especially in competitive play, whenever you see an IQ, you're like, oh, there's probably more of a chance that you'll actually be using your gadget, not just bringing it for the gun, which is also made more interesting by the fact that Ghost has not opted to bring the G8. He's going for the commando option instead. But part of me is always like, oh, they have an IQ. Did the enemy team bring a Pulse? Yes, they did. So if the two of them end up scanning one another at some point, like, it's really, really interesting to see that happen in competitive play, because you're really the only thing that happens in like ranked or sometimes even on Reddit clips. You almost never see it out of the field.
Right. So we can see that the Wamai is going to be trying to play aggressively in Bakery, like I said. This is just a way where he can kind of prevent the exothermic charge from being placed down. He does have a rotate back into sight, and it looks like he has retreated into it, and he's going to play his life. Sweater has been brought down fairly low in health. I don't exactly know where from, but he's also going to be dead. They're going to be able to open up the wall, however, so I guess that's a simple trade, but I really don't want to lose a body in that situation, and unfortunately, PogChamp did. Say goodbye to the Zofia stuns and the impacts, but they do have that wall open, so you got to go 2 steps backwards for 1 step forward.
PogChamp can still make a lot of progress. They've already got a whole bunch of downstairs map control ascertained, but they haven't bothered to clear out Beastly, who's still sitting behind bar. Yeah, the air jab doesn't do anything, as Prod is not able to capitalize on Wimpy accidentally running into that, and he will instead continue to sit in Small Breaker, waiting for somebody to come back to him. They still have a Maestro to deal with, and they still have the Smoke, who's been rotating around pretty effectively, and now Ghost gets taken down by Clicks. So the Smoke is already doing a whole bunch of work on the opposite side of the map, and that's already 3 kills for Clicks, and 2 of on this round by himself, so he's doing a good job of trying to keep map control. Both exothermics will be used by Trippin as PogChamp continues to open up a whole bunch of long angles, and there isn't a single ACOG on the side of Joe, so if you need to use your long range for PogChamp, you've got less than a minute to do it, and you still have Diffuser in your possession. That's a good sign, but you'll need to start getting picks before you move in.
They are able to take the smoke down, so they don't have to worry about Clicks going absolutely massive with the shotgun, and they also don't have to worry about the smoke canisters stopping them dead in their tracks. They do have up top control as well, so in terms of map control, they have a decent bit of it. They just have to make an execute on the site, and they have to do it quickly. 25 seconds left, and Trippin is creeping his way into the site, looking to put the bomb down. Last season, if you remember, Trippin had some of the most plants. I think he ended with about 14 or 13, which is absolutely incredible, and he's looking to add to that tally. 15 seconds remaining, though. You have to pick up the pace right now. There's so much utility on the side of Joe, and they are going to use it tremendously. It's now a 2v4. There's nothing that PogChamp can do, and Joe Esports win it out and tie it up 1-1.
Very good stall out from Joe. I think they realized that they were able to get that opening pick, and just not having another body for PogChamp to work around means that they have to almost completely rethink how aggressive they can be when it comes to their attack. They lost a primary fragging operator, and Sweater, by the way, has had some of the best entry stats of anyone who's played in United States Challenger League thus far. Remember that first game that they played on the main stream? I don't remember who their opponent was, but all I remember is Sweater dropping 20 plus kills on map 1 to open things up in a huge way. I want to say it might have been Spiker. It was their
Spiker,
very first. Yeah, it's exactly what it was. And I think if you're able to take out somebody who is as proven as he is to start the start the round off with, that's a very, very strong way to do it, because it means you're not able to move in nearly as quickly. You need to time your frags out, and you need to move people around into different positions. And by the time you've done that, if you keep on losing bodies, it's kind of all she wrote. And Joe were able to capitalize on that, and PogChamp weren't able to get enough kills in enough time. Joe were very content to not throw bodies to the wind and just kind of let PogChamp close into their trap.
Yeah, the fundamentals of that last round for PogChamp were really good. They got control of Bakery, they got control of up top, they got control of the backside, but the problem was they just lost bodies doing so. They lost Sweater early. I think they also lost, I think it might have been Prod early as well. No, it was Ghost who got shotgunned on the backside. And it's just unfortunate when that happens, because you get all this map control, but when you lose bodies and you lose utility, there's not much you can do with it. Unfortunately, that's just what it came down to. We saw there was a lot of utility on the side of Joe. They used it tremendously, and then there's just no way that you can execute on this site if you are PogChamp, and that's why they lost it out. This is a defender-sided map, and it statistically is one of the most defender-sided maps, so if you are a PogChamp fan, seeing Joe take a lead here or even have a 4-2 half shouldn't worry you.
We're heading into Train as opposed to Reading Room this time around. Again, Joe is known for being pretty fluid with the bomb sites that they pick. They don't necessarily have to stick to the same one over and over again, or even go back to a bomb site immediately after losing it. And I think the fact that they've opted to go for Train, which everyone kind of calls, like, I mean, it's sometimes not even the tertiary bomb site. It's kind of the one that you just kind of leave by the wayside. But both of the fireplace sites do have their own merits, and you can prepare their own strats for them. But if Joe is opting to not go back to Bar Cocktail, which is the site that they lost in the first round, then that might just mean that they have a little more confidence in the way that they're able to play their Cafe defenses. And this isn't necessarily the worst thing for them. Remember, the only time that they've ever lost Cafe over the course of the past couple of months in competitive play wasn't even in a CL game, and it was only a 1-point overtime loss. So I definitely don't think this is a weak map for either team, but Joe should definitely be feeling good if they're deciding to go to an offsite and not back to a primary one.
The main objective right now of PogChamp is to get up top control. They have to run through the Mozzie, and I also think the Mute if they want to get it. So there's a lot that PogChamp needs to do, and they have about half the round to do it. If I am Joe Esports right now, my main objective, if I'm a Joe Esports roamer, that is, I want to stay alive, I want to play my life. If I get a pick, that's great, but wasting time and playing my life is the main priority here, and we can see that both of the roamers for Joe are doing that tremendously. The main focus for this push is all up top. There's not a lot of map control being gifted to PogChamp, and they are steadily running out of time.
IQ not really being used in the support role, is instead trying to go for a frag if possible, but he's not able to get any intel on the freezer section, so Ghost will still kind of be on his lonesome. But from White Stairs, Wimpy as the Mozzie, he has completely rotated out of freezer. He'll nab the Zofia and then get the hell out of dodge. Nice pick on his part, but now everyone from PogChamp is going to, again, have to rethink. That's the second time that Sweater's been taken out as the first kill for Joe, and they may have enough time to stall out. Only 45 seconds remaining, but Prod will even things up. And Prophecy on the Jaeger, no kills yet for him so far. I don't want to call him the kind of person that just plays Jaeger for the utility, but so far, that's the only thing he's been able to do.
You are going to see a nade dispatched onto White Stairs trying to clear anybody out who's playing there, but it's not going to meet anybody. But someone that is going to go down is going to be Clicks and also Beastly. It's a 4v1 all up to rethinking. He's going to find himself in pillars, and he's also going to find himself in the grave. Just like that, PogChamp go absolutely huge with even not a lot of map control, basically the entire portion of that round. We're still able to make things happen, put things together, connect the dots, and win it out. If I'm Joe right now, I really want to pick up the pace a little bit. I want to come out on the winning end of this half because, again, this is a defender-sided map.
PogChamp did kind of leave the first... I don't want to say that they left it unattended. They didn't have a whole bunch of intel, which meant that they were trying to struggle with anyone sitting on that freezer setup that we saw. It ended up being the Mozzie, but Mozzie would still go back to White Stairs, grab a pick, and then move back down. But it looks like most of PogChamp's priority wasn't on the top floor. It was instead on the first floor. The train section of the map is where the bomb site was located, and they were trying to put a lot of pressure on the defense rather than trying to clear the roamers out. And it usually kind of works in reverse. You want to clear the roamers and then head for the site. But in this case, they were doing a good enough job of keeping roamers occupied upstairs that Joe weren't able to realize when PogChamp were making their attack onto train proper. And so far, we haven't had a plant, and PogChamp has won 2 rounds so far just off the back of getting enough frags. And Joe will finally opt to go back to the cocktail site and see whether or not they can correct some mistakes that they had in round number 1.
Something that's very interesting to note is that it's not often you see the team who lost a body first to actually go on and win the round. Zofia of Sweater has been picked off 2 times now in a row as the first pick. One round they lost, the second round, which was the round we just saw, they won it out, which shows just the perseverance and the ability to adapt from from PogChamp is actually quite incredible. Losing those Zofia isn't just, oh, we lost a gun, let's just kind of do what we got to do. No, that's utility. There's impacts that you lose. You can't get rid of the shields. You can't get rid of barbed wire. You can't stun people when you go for an execute. So the fact that PogChamp were able to piece things together even when missing a body right off the rip is very impressive.
And again, this is PogChamp's map pick, so they do have plenty of confidence that their attacks on Cafe will be met with at least some success. And if you're able to win at least one of the primary bomb sites more often than not, then that does send a very clear message about how you think you'll be able to do on a site that's as pivotal as this one. It's often hotly contested. I think even though Cafe does tend to swing in the side of the defense, this one's played more often than not. It's the first site that you typically pick when you're heading for a new map, and especially when you play it as the first site almost every time, then teams are able to get a whole bunch of adequate practice and scrims, especially in competitive play, and it means you're able to more accurately strategize for it. So whenever someone doesn't go for Cocktail first, it has a tendency to throw teams off. But PogChamp have already won it once. Joe need to be the ones to shore up their defense, and right now they're doing their best to keep Sweater and the rest of PogChamp sitting out of piano, because that's what they lost last time, and Joe weren't able to capitalize.
This is a very interesting setup from Joe. Most of the time we see this shield actually put to the left side of Wimpy where Prophecy is playing. And I think they actually might also have a shield there as well. So it's a double shield setup, preventing this west side take into piano from PogChamp. And it's working fairly well right now. It doesn't seem like the side of PogChamp has seen anything like this before. Potentially have seen it before in scrims, and now they're just surprised by it. But this is slowing down the progress of PogChamp quite a bit. Yes, they're in piano now, but I wouldn't necessarily call this control of piano because they just stepped foot into it and got a couple flashes, a couple air jabs, and then they're looking to retreat right back out of it as soon as possible, making sure they don't give up their body.
They're trying to clear out both the Wamai Disc and the Jaeger. Wimpy will be killed and Prophecy will be down himself. PogChamp having to clear a lot of utility out of that side of the map, and so far it seems to be working because they might not even be in a position to get Prophecy back up. A trade will ensue as Ghost will get one off a Claymore, but will be killed by Rethinking just prior. More peeks back onto Heaven as now PogChamp are trying to assume control of Cocktail if possible, but they still have a smoke to deal with, and he's still got to rotate back through Bathroom if he needs it. The Wamai will be revived, but at what cost? Jarvis will knock out Clicks, and Beastly will be taken out just afterward. All of a sudden, Prophecy finds himself in a 1 versus 3, trying to find the Thermite, and he does. Diffuser has been removed from play, and he has firm control over it. Pings will come out. He's not able to maintain control for very long. His PogChamp will come right back through and will win yet another round on this bomb site. So far, Joe don't have an answer.
Yeah, so Joe, we saw the first time around they had a completely different setup. They changed it up here, and they still lost it out. I don't necessarily know if the problem is with the setup, but rather how Joe is playing it. We saw that the side of PogChamp, they weren't getting control of piano for a very long time, and then somehow, some way, both Wimpy and Prophecy just died. One was to a nade, one was to just over peaking, and I think you just have to be passive in that situation if you are Joe. You know that you have control of piano, you know that the time is ticking away, but it's just, I think, maybe over-aggressiveness from the side of Joe that resulted in losing that round out. It was a valiant effort there at the very end from the Wamai, but unfortunately no cigar, and just like that, it's a 3-1 advantage here for PogChamp.
I think we thought this one was going to be a little bit close, and there's definitely more time for this to still swing back in Joe's favor. You need to start climbing more rounds back on a Cafe defense, and all of these guys, or most of these guys, have a whole bunch of Pro League experience. The only person on PogChamp who hasn't been able to touch that, the 2 players who haven't been able to touch the Pro League spotlight so far, that's Prod and Sweater. Joe Esports also have 2 players that have been able to play in Pro League, but the rest of their team, Clicks, Rethinking, and Wimpy, have never been able to cast, or have never had that sun shine on them before.
Yeah.
So all of this is still going to lead into how these teams are able to get points in leading into the way that the North American League will be structured once relegations become a possibility closer towards the end of the year. So this game is still definitely pivotal because in addition to that cash prize, you're trying to figure out where you rank up. And depending on your placement, this game is still mighty important because both of them were second place in their groups. We just have to get a whole bunch of other rankings sorted out, and then some of these guys, maybe, just maybe, will have a chance at touching Pro League once again.
When I talked with both of these teams before this game, they had a very similar answer to the same question. I said, how have you felt about this season so far? Both teams were extremely disappointed in their performances so far. So that means there's a lot in their back pocket. There's a lot that they still want to uncover. And there's a lot that they think they can show the people, that they can show the viewers that they just have not shown yet. So PogChamp and Joe in this matchup, you're going to see that they're going to be putting it all out on the line because they want to let everybody know that they're not just a regular team, a regular CL team that's just a third place, a fourth place. They want to be at the top of the table, and this is their way to prove that. Right now, it seems like PogChamp is proving that a lot better, but Joe has time to develop, has time to adapt, because reminder, this is best of 3, and we're only in round 5 of map number 1.
Sweater's clearing himself all the way down the top of White Stairs, and I think the entirety of top floor has already been secured by PogChamp, so they now can start worrying on a more concentrated attack of the reading room corridor, fireplace, and even train if they want to start opening up the holes necessary to start defending a potential diffuser placement. They have brought a pulse again, have Joe. I don't believe it was used all that effectively last time, but they were still able to gather plenty of intel to keep PogChamp out, and the entirety of their attack is no longer consistent of a bakery take. They're now opting to play for a more vertical route. This is something we didn't see last time, but never mind about that pulse. Nitro Cell perfectly executed, and Jarvis only able to open up a couple of holes before he's taken out of commission. Hopefully, PogChamp can still use those in some way if they can get a diffuser down. But again, you don't want to lose anybody on attack. Wimpy will knock out Prod. Sweater will grab one of his own before Trippin comes back. 2 versus 4. Things are coming out fast and furious. And now, PogChamp, they have holes opened up, but it's not enough to stop Joe from just coming out of dodge. Sweater has another kill to his name, but he needs to find 3 more and grab diffuser. He's got plenty of people who know exactly where he's positioned, and it might just be a matter of time before Joe closes this out fast.
There we can see it's a Sweater in a 1v3 right now. He has 40 seconds to work with, so time is in his favor, and so is the diffuser. So if he wants to make something happen, he kind of has the ability to do so. The problem being he has to run through Beastly, Clicks, and Prophecy. He's going to opt to run through Prep instead, looking through this rotate, trying to find a pick. He just has to single out his 1v1s and just get something going here. He's not able to land the shot, and just like that, Beastly is able to turn that round into Joe's favor and shut it all out. Incredible round there from Joe, and also an incredible round individually by Wimpy, who went absolutely huge in Bakery. And we also can't talk about, or we can't go over the fact that Pulse getting a kill on the sledge as the entry pick is absolutely huge. No up top control. You can't open up those angles. Great use of the C4 there from Rethinking, and that is definitely what resulted in the round win there for Joe.
The majority of these rounds so far, the opening kill has resulted in the team losing that player, losing the round overall, and that might just be a consistent trend, or it just might be the way that Joe play Kitchen. They've done a very, very effective job locking PogChamp out of that bomb site, and they have won it twice, meaning they don't have the option of going back to it before we go for a half switch. We need to go to overtime. That's obviously a different story, but even if we were to go to overtime and Joe Esports were to pick Kitchen, I don't think PogChamp would be all that interested in using either of those 2 attack strategies again, because it swung in Joe's favor before we were even really able to catch up. It was a flurry of kills. Joe's aggressiveness really does them favors whenever they're able to coordinate and just go off on one another. But so far, they haven't been able to translate that to any other bomb site wins. They'll opt to go for reading Fireplace as opposed to Train, just trying to all the options out, seeing what all works. If they're able to get this back into 3-3 swing, it's still definitely possible if they're as effective on their attacks. Like, Cafe does tend to swing on the meta a little bit, but it's still definitely a defender's haven. Right now, Joe hasn't been doing a good job of locking PogChamp out.
And the one thing that I'm very worried about if I'm a Joe fan or if I'm a Joe player is the fact that the only site they have won is downstairs Kitchen. They're now moving on to a separate site. They haven't won up top. They haven't won reading. They haven't won anything else besides Kitchen. And now here they are on a different site. Do they have what it takes? Do they have any gas left in the tank to force this to a 3-3 half? We really do not know. Based off of just the statistics of everything and the patterns of everything, if I was a betting man, I would say that PogChamp actually wins this out 4-2. And oh my goodness, what a shot there from
That certainly doesn't help.
Yeah, I'm going to take that bet right back. Don't put that one in the sportsbook.
Joe getting the initial pick again. Majority of these rounds have gone the favor of the team that gets that opening kill, and if we can keep the trend going, Joe might be sitting pretty on this next round. And again, a A lot of this will still depend upon that vertical play, as there's so much breakable surface that sits right above this bomb site if you're able to take adequate control of Cocktail. There's not nearly as much presence for Joe sitting upstairs, however. Most of it seems to have been contained to the bomb site, and in this case, if they're not even that worried about trying to go for frags. If anyone's upstairs for Joe, right now PogChamp are definitely not worried about it, as it just looks like Prod's trying to take these fights straight up. He's got 6 kills to his name, and he's looking to add more to the scoreboard if possible. But I don't know if PogChamp right now is as confident as they want to be before making a push. They probably would have already made an effort inside were it not for 3 members of Joe still sitting on the bomb site, locking it down.
And also not losing their Ash right off the rip. Right in the beginning, they lost a very key operator when you want to execute, when you want to force roamers out. And it's just unfortunate there for Sweater, because that's the 2nd time that has happened. No, my apologies, the 3rd time that has happened, he has been the entry pick. So if I'm Sweater and I want to look back at this game, that's something I definitely want to improve on. Joe are sitting relatively comfortable right now. They don't have really much pressure put onto them from PogChamp. They still have up top control. They still have train control. And it seems like PogChamp is just grasping at straws to try to get something going. They want to play for picks. They want someone to peek into them. And Joe is doing a very good job of not doing that.
It almost looks like they're trying to confuse PogChamp into kind of a zigzag, because the bomb site sits right below piano side of things. Beastie will grab Prod, so it just seems like it's a confusion game from Joe trying to situate roamers up top, and not even roamers, as the Maestro's been putting the work in. He was sitting upstairs the majority of the round, and he's still up there, but he has all the cover that he needs. He doesn't need to go back down as a 3 armor, and now Ghost, after such a successful half from PogChamp, he'll need to go and find 5 full-strength kills if he wants a chance. No. Joe Esports, flawless round. They will even things up at 3-3 heading into their attacking half. Not the prettiest way of doing things, but you can't complain if you're tied moving to overtime.
You do not want to give Wimpy 81 bullets. We know how good this guy is, and well, he shows it there. Goes absolutely huge up top, rotates back down into sight, and then puts Ghost into the grave. He did everything that round. He had up top control for his team. He had sight control for his team. He was getting kills for his team. There's not much more you can ask from him. But now, here comes the side switch. How good is PogChamp going to be on the defensive side of things? They were pretty impressive on attack, especially near the early going of this matchup, but can they bring the same fire on defense? What do you think, Jacob?
So far, the trend for most of North American Siege has been, if your map pick is a very defender-heavy map, then you need to find a way to strategize for the attack before you're able to move it onto defense for your side of things. And a 3-3 half on a map that has been historically this hard to take as an attacking team, that speaks volumes to what PogChamp are able to do on this side. As you take a look at the round history, not a single diffuser has gone down this entire time. And so far, we still sit at an even round count. The way that I see it, PogChamp already have a lot of momentum in their favor, carried over from those rounds that they won early on. It was a 3-1 half, and then Joe pulled 2 rounds back. Because it's their pick, they knew they'd have to go through an entire attacking half, and they did a very good job of making sure Joe didn't have any possible way to win a very common bomb site. If they won even one cocktail defense, then I think we look at a very different story, and Joe clearly has way more momentum, and having an advantage going into your attacking half means you've got way more confidence in what you're able to do. But PogChamp, right now, this is a very advantageous spot for them to sit. All they need are 4 more rounds, and they go into the map number 2 on Consulate, already up by 1 point.
Yeah, that's very, very true. And something that's interesting about that round history graphic is it kind of shows just the play style from both of these teams. They like to put on a show. They like to get frags. They like to get kills. Planting and retakes, not really their style. They want to get picks. They want to get aggressive. They want to get in your face. And it's working for both teams considering that it is 3-3 and it's all tied up. You see a nice little aggressive angle here from Sweater. Sweater is, in my opinion, one of the most impressive players in CL. And if there's any angle he's holding or any aggressive play he's doing, I'm all for it because he's 9 times out of 10 going to win that gunfight out.
I really just kind of want Trippin to get a kill at this point. I remember we had an EU all-stat.
Trip.
A little while ago, it was a player from, it was Expo on Team Secret.
Expo,
He was 0-11. He was playing his support roles, but it's just like, come on, man. You don't want to turn into the North American Expo. That's not what you need right now. You need momentum going into CL.
Yeah, no, he's got to put something together for sure. He has a C4, so maybe he could get an explosive start to his kills. I'm hoping he can. He just needs the intel in order to throw it. we see Prophecy sneaking his way down White Stairs, trying to make something happen. I don't exactly know if there is a drone in front of him or if he's just kind of face checking. No, there was not. So he's just going to be droning himself in, which is a very interesting dynamic to see. Most of the time when there's an Ashe player or a Zofia player, like you can see with Wimpy here, they are specifically droned out by somebody else, and then they go for the pick. Whereas Ashe all by herself on the other side of the map is just going to be doing it all by herself. Aggressive peek here from Sweater, and like I said, 9 times out of 10, he's going to win that one out, and just like that, he wins it out against Wimpy, who also is a very, very prominent fragger.
Joe have opted to go for a different Heartbreach selection than PogChamp did, but this time around it's different because we actually have somebody who can we have 2 players who are able to deny opening up any walls on Kitchen in both Ghost and Trippin with the Mute and Kaid combo. And so far, they're doing a good job of keeping things locked down, as the Hatch Queen herself in Habana is not able to be utilized on that hatch up until maybe this Electric Claw gets cleared out by the frag. It is not successful if that is in fact the intention for rethinking. Might go for it one more time, and no, that's 2 frag nades wasted trying to clear the Electric Claw, and now vertical play will have to be ascertained differently. There's already a lot of action happening downstairs as Ashe already in coach check is looking for a peek, making sure there's no one sitting in the hallway, but there's still one behind the bar, and he reads that perfectly. Prod gets knocked down, and he'll find another one in Harry Potter. So now PogChamp on the back foot. They need to turtle up a little bit, make sure they don't lose this map control this fast, but it's all happening so blindingly quickly. A 2 versus 2, and Diffuser has been secured by PogChamp. A 2 versus 1 now, as Prophecy on low HP can't finally get back into the bomb site. We got Trippin to kill everybody. It's inverse caster's curse. We're doing our jobs.
I don't think it was just 1 kill either. I think that was 3 potentially. We saw Trippin put the Thanos glove on and say, you know what, fine, I'm doing it myself, and that's exactly what he did. Goes absolutely huge for his team. It turned into a horizontal take there from Joe because of the lack of up-top control, and at one point it looked like Joe was going to run away with that round. Prophecy went huge. He was able to take down the Vigil, and also I think it was the Mozzie playing behind Whiskey, but unfortunately Trippin, he's there. He might have not been there in the attacking half, but he's here on the defensive half, and he's able to find 3 kills to his name, one of which was a C4 kill, and it results in PogChamp winning their defense out on Kitchen. And now they're going to be moving on to reading. Here we go.
It's again a very, very common case of going to a site that the attacking team probably won't expect. It's another sign of confidence that you have in your playbook. You have plenty of options that you can go to, and it's just a matter of trying to throw Joe off their game. If Joe wants to bring something a little more special to a particular bomb site, and then it turns out that PogChamp haven't gone to that site, then it's almost a waste of a pick. Luckily, most of what Joe has brought on this attack seem like it can really be used anywhere across the map. You've got one soft destructor who's able to open up plenty of holes, and again, Cafe is notorious for having so many destructible floors that you can play almost any vertical angle you want, provided you have enough positioning. But the problem is, PogChamp are already aware of that, and they're placing plenty of utility upstairs, maybe even leaving 2 to perhaps even 3 bodies up top to make sure that any take from Joe is unsuccessful before they can even move to the 2nd floor.
Looking at Sweater, he's now on the smoke roll, so that's a fairly major role change. He was on Vigil the round prior, and obviously it's a completely different site, but now he's on a fairly, I would say, an aggressive support role. You don't necessarily want your smoke player playing like how a Vigil player plays, but I think that just shows how how good, there we go, there's a better way of saying it, how good PogChamp is at adapting their play style and changing up their roles. So we can see that the drone there from Prophecy was immediately shot down, and again, I think that's something that a lot of people overlook, is drone economy in the game of Siege is very valuable. Any intel you can get, just a little bit of a pain, just a little bit of an idea of where a player is playing can help your round, can help your frags tremendously, and well, just losing a drone out just like that right off the rip, and also another one, could prove to be worrisome in the later half of this round for Joe Esports.
I was trying to figure out what Wimpy was doing. It's almost like no one expected him to go through Nitro window, and a fight will immediately force him back to red so he can take more time to drone. It was almost an interesting exchange. There wasn't any HP back, but the mute from the mute from Trippin did definitely notice where Sweater was playing. Top 4 control is still not something that Joe have yet, but they're trying to work on piano as much as possible, and I just don't know if they're confident enough in trying to go for this take a fight again, as Sweater is just playing havoc with the mute. Right now, Trippin is in a very, very weird position. He's looking to catch Wimpy off guard if he makes another peek, but so far Wimpy has wisened up to it, and he is not taking that same approach. If he wants to play this 1v1 right now, I don't know if he is aware that there's someone sitting right next to him, and no, Sweater will be the one to fall, losing his smoke right now. That's not the operator you need, as you need that area denial to lock anyone else out. That's the wrong pick. I don't know what Sweater was doing.
Yeah, the awareness there from Wimpy was actually incredible. He was able to pinpoint the person up top. He knew where the smoke was playing, and then he also got the kill on the smoke. Ghost goes down as well from a nice shot from Rethinking, and just like that, you lost two very valuable operators. One in terms of utility, and one in terms of a gun. Wimpy is just going absolutely huge once again for his team. He does this all the time. It's all up to Prod. Somehow, some way, Joe just are so explosive. They turn it on. It's a flip of a switch. It's actually incredible. It seems as if the way that Joe plays in the beginnings of the round, they kind of throw a curveball at you, and they're super slow. You don't know what they're doing, and then bang, Wimpy gets a kill. Rethinking gets a kill. Prophecy gets a kill, and then everyone's dead. It's a 4v1 on site, and you're like, oh God, what just happened?
I wonder if part of that is just built over from the way that they had Joe constructed it for the previous season of CL, and how much of that is built off of what Beastly and Prophecy are brought to this team, both of them having played in Pro League previously under various organizations, and now that they're here, I wonder whether that veteran presence is really helping the rest of Joe understand when it's necessary to go for fights, or when it's possible for them to start misdirecting a much more experienced overall team like PogChamp. I think you have a lot of things that you can do if you're Joe with that amount of experience in your back pocket, and like you said, when they're able to turn on the jets, they get kills left, right, and center, and it's almost like we can't keep up, and PogChamp doesn't know how to properly react. It doesn't happen very often, though, is the thing. They need to turn those jets on and turn them up to 100 and leave them there. Because PogChamp, so far, can isolate roamers out very effectively, and I don't entirely understand why Sweater was pushing a fight against Wimpy that he probably wouldn't have had any chance of winning anyway.
So they are going to be opting to go back to that exact same site, and it looks to be the exact same setup. Most of the time when you see this from a team, it means they knew what their mistake was, and they have an easy fix for it. And I think you pinpointed on this just slightly, and it was the fact that Sweater got overly aggressive onto Wimpy. I'm expecting to see Sweater here. He's going to play a lot more passively. He's going to play his utility a lot more, and then this could result in a win for PogChamp. At least that's what is the ideal situation if you are a PogChamp player. Sometimes, though, the reason why you go back to a site that you lost previously is because you just simply aren't comfortable on other sites. But at this level, at the kind of just the tier we are at with these two teams, I don't expect that to be the issue.
Operator lineups from both teams also have been pretty consistent on both of their halves. There's obviously enough utility that you can bring. You have a total of 9 flashes to burn ADSs, and the Wamai Jaeger combo has been something both teams have opted to use as often as possible. So I think Joe, or any attacking side, is already aware, hey, we're going to have plenty of stuff that we need to burn so we don't waste any, extremely useful utility. You can even still use frag grenades to burn ADSs if need be, or if you're not too worried about the utility that Capitao brings, you can use those to clear the bolts out. Everything on Joe's side is utilized, or can be utilized, as a means of deleting the utility from PogChamp before it becomes worthwhile for them.
On a map like Cafe, if the attackers don't win the roam clear, they most likely will lose the round. And I think that's a pattern we have seen quite a lot in this matchup today. If you win the roam clear as the defense, you're going to win it out. If you lose the roam clear as the attacker, you're going to lose it out. And we've seen it time and time again. So right now, the priority for Joe is to single out these roamers, single out the players that are playing by themselves, search for those one-on-one gunfights, and then win them. Not only does that offer you an advantage in terms of man advantage, but also map control.
Joe so far have most of top floor and a very good portion of second floor, but the issue is Train is not the bomb site. You need to force it onto Fireplace. Reading almost seems to have been abandoned for now, as Joe are content to sit back and try to take fights, but they don't have a lot of time with which to do it. There's still someone sitting in Fireplace, and that still is Joe's priority. But again, my disc and all of this utility burn is proving to be the reason that PogChamp continue to sit pretty. Joe don't have nearly as much time as they would like to start working on this stuff, and I think Wimpy at this point might not have enough utility to clear some stuff out by himself. But again, look at all of this utility that Joe has brought, trying to force the issue with PogChamp. We don't even have a single player dead at the moment, and there's only 30 seconds left.
Yeah, this is going to be a very bloody or a very silent last half of this round. And here's one shot's coming out. It's going to be onto the pulse. You got to hit those. You got to put him into the grave right now, Wimpy. You cannot lose this out. This is a very huge kill. Not only will it be a C4 off the board, but it will be a lot of intel. The problem is, look at that clock. There is 15 seconds left, and Prod is doing his job tremendously, and so is the rest of PogChamp, going absolutely huge. It's all up to rethinking, and he's in the grave. Every single person on the side of Joe, well, their bones are going to be bleaching under the sun for quite some time. They got absolutely shut down there, and PogChamp, they might have their mojo back.
What just happened?
I don't know.
4 kills.
I'm going to be honest.
What?
Where? I have no idea.
Yeah,
Wimpy was downstairs looking at the pulse for a very long time. I was like, okay, this could be a gunfight we can see, and then boom, 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 boom. Okay, the round's over. What?
I was going to say, that gunfight almost didn't look like it was going to happen. I just thought Pulse was going to sit prone behind that one countertop the entire time and not come back up because there was 15 seconds left. But they were still trying to force the issue on Fireplace, and then all of a sudden, everyone from PogChamp just pops up out of both Reading and Fireplace and just takes the fights where they need them because they're all up in the hallways, and Nitro So goes off out of nowhere. I mean, congratulations to PogChamp. We couldn't see it, but that doesn't mean it wasn't a very effective way to clear Joe out of that site. Now we can head back to a site I think we know a little bit better in Kitchen, which is where PogChamp went the first time, but they weren't able to close it. No, I think they were.
They were, yes.
They were able to close it out last time. Yeah, so far, the defensive rate on Kitchen is 100% in favor of the team that's defending it.
And if that holds true, we're going to see PogChamp move on to match point. And Jacob, we talk about this every single week. How powerful is that match point flashing at the top of your screen? Well, very, very powerful. The fact that Joe are going to be put onto the back foot and they can't make any more mistakes, because if they just make one, this map will be over. But before we get to that, PogChamp has to win this out. If we're talking about just statistics and what we've seen so far, they should be relatively comfortable on this site. But again, this is Rainbow Six Siege. It's not all about statistics. It's not all about numbers. It's about who can make a play and when.
You probably say the same of any other game. The only difference in Siege is that it takes a lot more strategizing. The thing, I think I heard Desichu say it best, Siege is really just 4D explodey chess. Which is, I can't think of a better way to describe it, mostly because you can play this in so many different intricate ways, and Cafe being as massive of a map as it is, at one point it and Bank were the two largest maps in the pool before Bank was taken out of commission a couple of months back. They have so many different ways to be played, and again, because of the destructibility that it has, I don't know if there's another map that you can get more creative with.
Is there such thing as 6D chess? Because I feel like Cafe would be that. Or like 20D chess. Because Cafe is just so complex. It's
complex because it's 3 to 4 sometimes separate floors. It's ridiculous.
And then you have top control, you have horizontal control. There's many layers to Cafe defense and offense. And that's why for a lot of teams, it's their most comfortable map. Because sometimes teams just can't bring it like others do on a map that's as complex as this. We can see up top control, though, has been gifted to the attacking team. And, well, most of the time, if you have a player sitting up top, sitting in a rat corner, it's going to punish a lazy roam clear. But we can see that Joe's roam clear is very thorough. They're checking their corners and making sure every single type of angle is going to be checked before they decide to try to execute on the site. Up top control now is going to open up a decent bit of angles and make the defense a little bit uncomfortable and maybe force people out of the typical positions they would be if you are a defender. But here you have about half the round left. In terms of time management, I think both teams are sitting fairly comfortable right now.
The only change that Joe made was to opt out of a Capitao in favor of a Jackal, and not even with the C70. That's a PDW Jackal. I don't know if that's the best gun of the game or not, but that certainly is the best way to open up a round. Wimpy gets taken out before he's able to do anything, and PogChamp starts sitting pretty on their kitchen defense yet again for the second time in a row. And like you said, the roam clear from Joe was incredibly effective, but what that's doing is it's giving PogChamp all the reason in the world to sit back on site and wait for the intel and the timing to all come to them. And Beastly grabs 2 big kills because no one from PogChamp is paying attention. A third kill will come out from him. He's got kitchen service all alone, and Diffuser can start to rotate back down. He's going for a 4th and prep right now, and he will find it. 1 versus 3. It's all on Sweater, but he'll finally get taken down. 1 versus 2 is still manageable with this much time left. You gotta grab Diffuser and move back in, but Joe, I don't understand. PogChamp have all of the control in kitchen, and they just give it up.
Put him in a montage, Beastly. Put him in a montage. The PDW, you were hating on it. I heard it, Jacob. You were hating on it for a little minute there. And then he just said, hey, watch this. Goes absolutely massive. In sight, I don't know where the awareness was for PogChamp, but there was like 18 people on cams. And just like that, they execute on a site when you didn't expect them to, and Joe win the round out. That's the first time we have seen a kitchen defense go in favor of the attack, and it's off the back of a 4K.
You can do this aggressive play all night long, Joe, and it will make for some of the most entertaining rounds that we see in Challenger League. That's how you're supposed to play it. It came down to understanding that PogChamp, they might have all of the control in kitchen. They gave up everything on top floor, on the 2 floors above kitchen, meaning that all Joe had to do was swarm in, figure out where everyone on PogChamp sat, and then just go ballistic. I wish I understood if PogChamp were trying to get more intel before making a move, and they had a C4 kill to their name. We said that was the best way to open up a round, and then all of a sudden, Beastly goes absolutely mental. I wish it were as easy as that to figure out what was going on, but Joe...
I really have no idea.
They've got momentum, and they can still carry this all the way through.
It's just so weird how that round turned out, because it just seemed like PogChamp were way too comfortable with the situation they were in. Joe had complete map control, and then PogChamp were just on drones. They were not on drones, but they were on cam, sitting in sight, and they were expecting the push to come a lot later on, which in this meta isn't really a thought that is too crazy to think about. Most of the time, this is a 20-second meta. If there's a minute left in the round and you're PogChamp, you're going to be like, oh, I have some time before I actually have to go into a gunfight here. I have some time before I have to click mouse 1. But obviously, Beastly turned up the clock. He turned up the speed. He turned up the pace, set the tempo for that round, and it's now 5-5.
It's not a case of it being able to work again either. PogChamp have opted for the exact same operator lineup, and I think the setup is mostly the same too. So I think it's more of a case of they want to try the same strat out and do it properly, rather than allow Beastly to make the same play that he did. And the aggressiveness from Joe, it works when it works, but when it doesn't work, it can stall out all of Joe's momentum very quickly. And PogChamp so far have recognized that by putting a Mozzie upstairs to put more pressure on Joe, and that is proving fruitful already. Beastly, the man of last round, can't do anything this time. A little more HP will be traded on Trippin, but that's a man for a little bit of HP. PogChamp again in the driver's seat.
And you said it, you have to make a play if you are Joe Esports. It seems like it seems like every round from Joe has been very reliant on individual skill, which is a problem fundamentally. That means your push or your hold is wrong. Something is wrong with your push and hold. But we can see here that Beastly going down is going to kind of tone down the explosiveness from Joe. They don't have that playmaker anymore, and the fire seems to be running thin, considering, well, the roam clear, definitely not as thorough, definitely not as quick, and also they don't have as many bodies when they want to execute on the site.
Just over a minute remaining, and I don't know if Joe are totally aware of what they want to go for. If you're opening up the floor, that is pretty standard if you're going for picks, and a wasted nitro cell now, as I'm pretty sure that's Ghost trying to go for more of those vertical kills. That is the first kill that they got in the last round, but I don't believe they are fully aware of the positions from Joe. You can open up the holes, then scamper right away from them, and it still reveals no intel, and Prophecy will finally even things out as Joe now have one man sitting in dining room, and they're beginning to do the same thing they did last round, albeit slower. Swarm, constrict, and then finally make a push inside. They'll have 40 seconds with which to do so.
And we can see here that there is still 2 C4s on the side. No, my apologies. Only 1 C4 on the side of PogChamp, and Sweater's just rotating up and able to find a very easy kill. Down goes Rethinking. So say goodbye to your sledge, and say goodbye to your grenades, and say goodbye to your soft destruction. Sweater is looking to go huge once again here, but it's going to be Prophecy sniffs him out. His low Sweater there is just a little bit too predictable, and Prophecy's able to read it and get the kill. There's 15 seconds. You have to make a play here. It's reliant on individual skill once again here from Joe, and I don't think it's going to be fruitful. Lightning doesn't strike the same place twice, and, well, it's not going to happen here. PogChamp win it out as Ghost closes it thin. And just like that, we saw an explosive round from Joe prior, but like you said, Jacob, if there isn't an individual play, if there isn't just like a catalyst that pushes Joe into sight, it seems like they just stall out and don't know what to do.
We sit on match point, and most of it is because of that entry stat. The team that loses a player and eventually ends up losing the round for a majority of Cafe thus far. And Joe are being forced to rethink their entire attacking strategy as soon as that happens. And it's worked before because that Beastly 3K is a thing that exists. That's living proof of that. The opposite side of that the opposite side of that coin is that if they lose a player that early on, especially one who is, already on a hot streak, you take out that player's momentum, you take the team's momentum down with you. And I'm not completely certain how Joe are trying to mentally adjust. On PogChamp's side, though, they're last season's Challenger League champions, and they want to prove that even with 2 players added since the end of that season, they are still the kings of North American Tier 2.
Yeah, and we can see, like I said in the interview questions I had with PogChamp, they're not pleased with their performance this year. Being the champions last year, you expected them to come into this season and maybe hit a repeat, maybe be second, maybe be first, but the fact that they're fighting for the 3rd and 4th place probably doesn't sit well with them, and that's why they're in this matchup going to be trying their absolute hardest to prove to literally every viewer, everybody watching that, hey, we're here to stay. We are a good team. We just have had some minor hiccups. Speaking of minor hiccups as well, it seems like every single time there's a round that one team wins, it's just back and forth, back and forth. I mean, look at that round history. There's a minor hiccup there. There's a minor hiccup here. You get some type of momentum there, and then something goes astray. There's no pattern being developed with this entire matchup because it's just purely back and forth, very, very close. And like we said, the round history, or the map history rather, for both of these teams has been 8-7 victories or an 8-7 loss for Joe. We could see another 8-7 game here.
We kept on the idea of this being a very close game, and so far it's proving to be exactly that. The only issue is now you sit on match point, and PogChamp don't have to get super aggressive if they don't want. I think a round ago, before Beastly went insane, they were definitely trying to stick closer to the bomb site and wait for Joe to come to them. Now, more than ever, is when they're able to employ a similar strategy. And again, look at where Joe is positioned. They're all over the map in different areas. And Ghost, what?
I don't know what I think he was trying to go for a run out and then just went
through the wrong window, or didn't have enough health and just fell through it.
I don't know.
All right, Ghost, you might want to run that one back. If you ever play Cafe again, just make sure you don't do that, and we'll be fine for next time.
Yeah, I'm very confused on how that happened. I'd like to see. I think he was definitely trying to make a play somewhere, but it just didn't result in a kill for him, and he resulted in dying. So the play turned into a. So I guess he just tried to run out. I'm hearing it from our beautiful observer. He tried to run out, simply just got killed, and there you go.
A minute and a half to go, and top floor control has already been obtained from Joe Esports. The question is, are they able to capitalize on that? One thing to focus on is PogChamp have not gone for cocktail this entire defensive half. Instead, they're putting bodies in utility and rotates upstairs as though they're kind of prepping for almost half of a cocktail push, but they still are leaving bodies up there in the case they need to make a drop. They can also move down in. Jarvis will do his best to protect his fellow teammate in the interim. Ghost already dead. Now Prod's been down. The Echo, not the player you want to lose. And so far, that operator, having been left on the board, has been completely ineffectual. The swing from Rethinking will take out Jarvis, but a double Nitro Cell kill is tripping and leaving things up. And now PogChamp, one more time with a man advantage. Prod, a little bit of HP left as he does get revived, but Clicks and Beastly are all that Joe has left on Cafe. They've got Diffuser in a little bit more time. The shield positioning is not read correctly from Capital, as now he'll have to move backwards. 30 seconds remain. Another kill as Trippin knocks out Clicks. The Diffuser has been completely swarmed by PogChamp. With 21 seconds remaining, Beastly needs something huge. That Nitro Cell might have just been the death knell for Joe on Cafe.
Now we can see it's a 1v3 situation. You have 10 seconds left. You don't have control of the diffuser. This is all but over here for Joe Esports. And PogChamp on Cafe, they win their map out. There were some molehills that they stumbled over, but in the end, they clean it up. Dots coming out in chat there from Sweater as a response to Beastly saying it prior. And well, if that was just the first map of this series, I'm very excited for map number 2 and number 3.
They kept things close, and we're not even close to being done with this series yet. But that's not the thing that that's not the thing that Joe needed. PogChamp winning their own map is crucial for if we need to head to a decider at some point later down the road. Consulate is our second map, and that's what Joe needs to win very, very handily if they want really any chance of pulling the series back. We said it at the beginning. They needed Cafe more than maybe even they recognize, just because of how Oregon has gone for them previously. If they're able to pull this next map out of the bag, good for them. They need a ride of momentum, and they can't let what PogChamp did to them last map really get in their heads all that much. So far, PogChamp have run away with the first map, and I wonder how exactly they're going to bounce back from map number 2.
Siege is as much of a mental game as it is a physical game, but we have 2 more maps potentially playing after this. We're going to be moving on to a break, and we'll be right back as soon as possible.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. PogChamp take the first map, Cafe Dostoyevsky, against Joe by a 7-5 scoreline that comes all the way down to the 12th round. And now we head into map 2, which is Consulate, which is Joe's respective map pick. Once again, I'm Caliber Jacob Anderson. This is Harry Red Cube Danish, and my dude, so far, I think PogChamp have very firmly proven that they're in the driver's seat. What does Joe need to do on map 2 to even the series out at 1 point apiece?
Well, I mean, what they need to do in map 2 is the same thing they did against Favelas on the exact same map. Joe has played Consulate 2 times, and they've won it both times, but it was against the Favelas both times. That's a really hard... There's a lot of maps there, but you know what I mean. Basically, I'm saying is, Joe has a much better record on this map than PogChamp. So if they keep doing what works prior, and we saw what worked against Favelas, if they bring that here against PogChamp, PogChamp might not have an answer. The one problem with that being the fact that it was against the same team both times. You haven't seen a new look. You haven't been thrown a curveball. It was just right down the middle every single time for Joe. So it might kind of be a, yes, it's a 2-0, but it's a 2-0 against the same team, the same strats, the same holds. There's a little bit of an asterisk next to that.
And right now, we were a little bit uncertain about the way the Cafe was going to shake out just because both teams seem to be fairly even on it, but this is the first time that one team comes into another map decidedly in the advantage. I don't think, aside from Oregon, which we will get to in the event that Joe were able to win Consulate, so far this has been their map in CL, and I don't think PogChamp is nearly as prepared as we might expect. But another thing to take advantage of is the fact that PogChamp didn't have to ban out Thatcher in the last game. That's something that they've had to deal with or deal without for the majority of CL thus far, but that's by their own design. They were able to ban out a whole other operator last map without having to worry about the Thatcher ban. Joe will again take Thatcher off the board by themselves, and again, PogChamp will be the one to ban that out, and it leaves Joe in a position where they are able to pick something else to completely change up the way that they attack to start off with.
If I'm Joe Esports right now, I'm kind of cautiously comfortable because I'm comfortable in the fact that I'm on our favorite map. We're on Consulate. We have a 2-0 record on this, but I'm also cautious in terms of the fact that our games on Consulate were streamed. They have intel, they have the VOD, they have the way we play, and now we kind of have to change it up. Obviously, PogChamp, if they did their homework properly, they're going to be able to read into Joe's strats and into their holds fairly deeply. But if Joe can just change things up here and there, it could throw PogChamp off just a bit. Thatcher, Capital off the board. That's not really a surprise on a map like this. You still have the Maverick on the board. You still have the Echo on the board. Could potentially be banned out here with this last defensive ban, but we did see him in play last map, and he wasn't effective at all. It's going to be the Valk ban. Very, very common on this map, and there we go again. Echo is still in play. Can he be more effective this map?
I think he can be more effective on a Consulate defense than he can on a Cafe defense, and that was proven mostly because Echo was played, I think, 1 round, if maybe 2, on Cafe previously. But so far, with the first 3 bans of Thatcher, Capital, and Amira, that's PogChamp's single favorite ban and both of Joe's favorite bans already in one fell swoop. So if they're already really comfortable not running these operators, then all of their strategy is something they're already very assured in themselves that they don't need to worry about in order to secure this map for themselves.
So we have to change the look up just a little bit because on Cafe, it's a very defender-sided map, and throughout the entire matchup, we were saying, guys, reminder, the attack is at the deficit here. Reminder, the attack is at the deficit here, so a 4-2-1/2 in favor of the defense isn't very surprising. Consulate, though, it's still defender-sided, but very, very slightly. It's actually getting close to Coastline, believe it or not. Coastline is the only attacker-favored map, but Consulate right now is 49.7% in favor of the attackers and only 50.3% in favor of the defenders. That's as 50-50 as you can get in the game of Siege, and, well, we're going to see it here. Let's see how it unfolds. Will we see a 3-3-1/2? Will we see someone run away with it? We really don't know.
One of our European compatriots, one Mr. Ace of Pyrite, had something to say about Consulate, saying it's his favorite map because Consulate is really played the same way over and over again, and it's from either the east side or it's from the west side. You only have one entrance that's not on either one of them, and that's a south side main lobby take. However, especially on a garage defense, you're coming from the garage door, or you're going downstairs into server, maybe even from Visa stairs, and you're attacking it from one side or the other. That's usually how the map goes down practically every time it's seen play in major competition, and I don't know if the bans certainly are going to help it stay that way, because We talked about it in the last map. Cafe had a Valkyrie ban, and that's even more potent on a map like Consulate, where it's so easy to hide those black eye cams across the map somewhere on the outside. But that's a point you've already heard from Pro League casters in the past. We don't even need to say it here because they beat that point to death more often than not.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, well, you don't have to worry about the Valk cams anymore, so it's going to make the attack relatively comfortable. And like you said, with the way that Consulate is played, it's kind of repetitive. It's not as repetitive as Border was near the tail end of its life, but wow, okay.
No
Rethinking is able to get a kill through the drone hole onto Sweater. Say goodbye to your Jaeger. Yes, his ADSs are already down, and it's not too much utility lost, but that's a very valuable gun off the board.
That frag grenade goes through the drone hole and goes too far to get the electric claw off the wall, so it'll be another couple seconds before the wall can be opened up, but finally Clix will be the one to do it, and control now is going to be fought for all across that garage door. Like we said, it's a west side take. Joe Esports, with that one kill, are already in a very advantageous position. This is somewhat defender-sided, so you still have PogChamp's, confidence that they can lock down only one of those garage panels being opened up, and so far the Cade, not having done his job, isn't able to trick the wall effectively. But so far, Joe, they're feeling confident enough that they can just run back and forth across an open section of garage panel and reposition themselves wherever they need to go. And there's still half the round, remaining.
Yeah, so we are going to see, I think that was a Zofia charge be dispatched on this person playing behind White Van. And the main objective right now of PogChamp is to slow down this push as much as possible. Force Joe into a situation where they have to bottleneck into sight, and those smoke grenades, those smoke canisters rather, are going to be the most effective. We can see that they're doing this fairly well. No push from Joe has found substance. Yes, they lost a body early on, but after that, it's been relatively cold here for Joe Esports.
A minute remaining, and it's almost like after getting the first kill and getting the wall open, Joe Esports are kind of stalling for time and looking for picks where they can get them. Wimpy has moved down yellow stairs so he can go for a pick, but Trippin's already practically barricaded himself behind his own shield, and that's not a position that Joe have recognized or are able to clear out because of the way the shield has been positioned, facing the side of Piano that you would have to attack from based on where those metal bars are cemented into the ceiling. The push needs to come in the next couple of seconds, but there's still plenty of area denial that the smoke can provide, and right now that's the default plant spot in front of White Van, which is the so far only panel that's been opened up. Finally, a good read as Prophecy will knock out Trippin. Rethinking will be taken down by Jarvis, and PogChamp will still try to hold on. 3 versus 2 now, as Diffuser's already been down. 2 big kills from Prod. PogChamp lock everything down off a very quick play from the Kaid. That entire attack from Joe looks so promising right up until the very end. Prod locks things down. Very well timed.
Joe Esports, they got that garage wall open extremely early on. They were able to take down the Jaeger, and it looked like it was going to be all uphill from there. Well, that wasn't the case whatsoever. PogChamp, they played that extremely well, almost perfectly. They forced Joe into a position where they had to stall out. It was a cold war for quite some time, and then like I said, you bottleneck the push. Those smoke canisters are going to be extremely effective, and then you just kill the planter when there's only 5 seconds left. There's nothing Joe can do. Very solid defense there from PogChamp, even when it looked meek at the early goings.
This will be where we see Echo used in full effect as well. I don't want to call it uncommon for this top floor bomb site, but there are still plenty of places for Echo to hide, especially if he wants to take things a little bit more aggressively. Right now, the intel game on the defensive side of things is lacking a little bit because of the lack of a Valkyrie that can be used in this match. So you have 2 other intel operators with another 4 cams that you can provide, and there aren't any deployable or bulletproof cameras that can be used anywhere else, so any additional intel aside from default cams will fall on the shoulders of both of them. Joe Esports, on the other hand, are bringing practically the same operator lineup with a different hard breacher. Clix has opted for the Hibana as opposed to the Thermite, and I was a little bit surprised to see that there wasn't anything else brought that can have a little bit more utility clear. But then again, Capital and Thatcher bans are making things a lot more difficult for Joe to really find their footing.
The attacking composition on a map like Consulate stays relatively simple throughout. The defending composition can change quite a bit depending how you want to play a certain site. Site-by-site base, the operators for the defenders are going to change quite a lot. Site-by-site base for the attackers, the operators are going to stay relatively consistent. The only change is probably going to be in those hard breachers. Like we can see with Clicks, instead of playing the Thermite, he's now going to be opting for the Habana, which on this site makes a lot more sense. The main objective here from the attackers is to just get control of, like you said, either the east or the west side and then push through there. It looks like Joe is probably going to be going for an east side take. They have somebody rappelling up on those east windows, but they also have someone on yellow stairs. So right now, it's a little bit split. They don't exactly know where they want to push. They're probably going to wait for a pick and then go from there.
Joe Esports need not be worried about a top floor roam because that can't exist when the site sits on the top floor, and Consulate is still a very constrictive map.
Yes.
Can you Clicks?
I don't know what that was.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was.
Hey, we'll try it this way. He hit the wrong button and went upside down at the wrong time. Is what it looks like.
Yeah.
But the problem with this map opposed to Cafe is it's very, very constrictive. It's a very, very thin map in all respects, which means your roam has to happen a whole floor down, and that is where the Jaeger is playing, trying to just make Ash feel as uncomfortable as possible before the entry players for Joe are able to go on and start finding picks. And that seems to still be the game plan, as there isn't a pulse that's been brought in this instance, but there isn't a single nitro cell on PogChamp's defense, which means they're not going to be relying on that destructibility from down below. But Joe Esports, they need to do a better job on their frags. That's your hard breacher down, and he had no impact. Oh, man.
They don't need the C4 to get explosive kills because it looks like PogChamp, well, they just rely on Joe doing it themselves. Really, really huge misplay there from Rethinking. Sweater's able to tack on another kill. Down goes the Zofia, and now it's going to be a 3v5 situation. So much intel here for PogChamp. They have smoke canisters, they also have Legion Mines, and they also have the 416 on Sweater. There's a lot of things that Joe has to worry about, and time is also one of them as it's ticking down. About 30 seconds left now remain, and there seems to be absolutely zero substance to this push.
Joe don't really have an idea for where they want to push. Most of their players are positioned all across the map. That's a very good shot. You're right. Sweater will be traded back by Wimpy, but still both members of Joe are across the map from one another. And dare I say it, Prophecy is still feeling really uncomfortable on yellow stairs, not going for a push, so Wimpy will do it himself and get absolutely drilled. Prophecy now finally makes a push back upside a bathroom and will get taken down by Long Desk as Prod gets a kill with that MP5 SD. PogChamp, 2 straight rounds on defense, and that's not something we've seen 2 straight rounds since the beginning of last map.
Yeah, and I mean, I hate to talk about it a lot, but it comes down to that missed frag grenade.
You really
does. You cannot be making those mistakes, especially at this level. This level, you need to make your frag grenades count, especially with either getting rid of utility, getting rid of operators, getting kills, whatever it may be. You don't want to have friendly fire with a frag grenade, because not only does that, 1, kill your teammate, 2, you lose a frag grenade, and 3, you lose a lot of utility. Absolutely major misplay there from Rethinking. I don't expect it to happen again, and if I'm anyone on the Joe team, I'm going to be telling him that it better not happen again.
Last time you and I casted, it was Oceanus versus Windstorm in the Canadian Challenger League division, and this time we're seeing a site that didn't really get played a whole lot there because the Archive split site was the one that was played more often than not, and it was played very effectively, but PogChamp preferring to keep things linear. Lobby and press room will be site number 3 as it's still all contained on the 2nd floor. This one, you do have to worry about more of a top floor roam in the event you want to slap some of your defenders upstairs once they're done prepping the site, and that's probably what the play will be, because there's still plenty of chances for you to make noise upstairs. And this is a full, that's 2 ADSs on Garage. They're really estimating that Joe's push will come from that side, and they didn't bring a Thermite to do it, so it might be a little bit more time before Joe can begin to make their push up, if that's indeed what they're going for here.
I don't exactly know where the Jaeger is playing, but I'm going to guess that he's upstairs near Lawn Desk, and he's going to just try to waste as much time as possible. Most of the time when you do a roam clear for this site, you send a couple people downstairs, you send a couple people upstairs, and then the roamers, their job is just to waste time. If Sweater can find a pick, can find a kill, or waste a lot of utility, he will for sure do his job. If he gets picked off right in the beginning, well, PogChamp is going to be rather disappointed with his performance, but I don't expect that to happen considering how good of a player Sweater is.
I don't think Joe really wants to focus on that downstairs garage hold from PogChamp nearly at all, as it seems like most of what they're doing is a whole bunch of solo droning down through the top floor, of which there is only one player currently sitting, and that's Sweater across the map from Rethinking, who's going to do a little bit of work of his own and maybe go for an angle, but he'll just opt to go right back up top.
He slammed the wall. He was like, I hate this wall.
He just
walked
left.
right back out. Oh, wow. That's interesting. Sweater, I think, did get droned out. He's going to opt to rotate back downstairs. No, he's still going up yellow stairs as well. So he's going to be playing in that bathroom area, and he's wasting a decent bit of time, and no one from Joe is pushing him. So the fact that he's able to sit upstairs relatively comfortable, it opens up the doors for a late round flank that could be very, very dangerous. So actually, we do see Wimpy, though, could be the one to put him in his grave, but again, you have to be careful here. You don't want to waste too much time. You don't want to waste too much utility on this player upstairs because you need that for an execute on a site like this.
Sledge and Nomad opting to buddy up a little bit, trying to make a little more noise upstairs and ensure that they have top floor control all to themselves. A frag grenade goes off across the map and downs Ghost, but he's not completely out of the fight yet if someone's able to get back to him. And finally, another frag grenade will take him out of commission as Rethinking will clean up on his own kill. Wait, he doesn't even notice it. The Jaeger goes almost completely undetected, but Beastly will grab the kill regardless. Prod will find another refrag onto Wimpy, and he'll grab another one. Another double kill round for Prod. Big moves made by the big man. Beastly will find one more on Trip and his second kill of the round, and finally the plant. No plants have happened in this series just yet. A 1 versus 2 turns into a 0 to 2 as Joe Esports will grab one first round on attack. Oh man, I am flustered. I'm trying to figure out what happened here.
Just the dynamic, just the way that Joe plays is confusing me, Jacob, because they didn't clear it out up top. The Jaeger was still alive near the execute. There was no push downstairs. And then we saw Prod go huge. We saw, I think it was Prophecy just walk his way through. No, it was Beastly walking his way through site. He went through main lobby, through the back hallway, and then right back into piano. And nobody knew he was there. It's just the whole dynamic of this game, even on Cafe, is very confusing to me because it's very reliant on solo plays. You have to make a play. You have to make a difference in a round as an individual player if you want your team to win. And in my opinion, that's not necessarily the best mindset, the best game plan to have when competing at this very high level.
I think we did stray away from that a little bit. Sledge and Nomad were trying to take control of Projector and almost the entirety of top floor by themselves. Whether or not it was nearly as successful is almost something you don't have to think about because Joe still came away with the round in the end, but it is a little, I guess, disjointing when you see Joe try to take an attack from all sides of a map and then they're not able to get back into position for refrags more often than not. The thing that Joe can't do, though, is allow Prod to do what he's been doing these past couple of rounds. That's Prod's first death, but he had 5 kills before that, making at least 2 kill rounds, 2 different rounds on defense so far. He's had an impact just because he's able to position himself appropriately, and if someone from Joe tries to go for a refrag, it's something Prod can shut down very effectively because Joe is still mispositioning themselves. Right now, they don't have, I think, the mindset of we need to keep on pushing together because very clearly they're trying to split their resources up and create havoc from all sides, and so far it's not paying its dividends.
What I want to see here in this round is a plant. We have not seen a plant this entire game, and we have Trippin on one team and Clicks on the other. Both of those players last season were near the top of the table in terms of the amount of plants they were able to put down. I don't necessarily know if it means that PogChamp and Joe have just gotten more aggressively over the years and the time that has developed with these teams. I don't know if it's maybe the roster changes that have changed the way these two teams play, but the fact that we haven't seen a plant this entire game is very, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's very confusing considering just what we know from these teams prior in last season.
Joe have opted to put 2 members of their defensive side all across the first and second floor. Jarvis, as Legion will continue roaming upstairs trying to stop any really ridiculous push, and Jaeger will also move around by circle desk almost unabated as Joe has not been able to maintain or even take control of much by themselves. But Prophecy will knock down Sweater, so that's a really good way to start as that roam's been completely nullified and the Ash is able to move back outside almost as if nothing happened.
Sweater last time on this site was also the first pick, and PogChamp were still able to win it out. Can PogChamp repeat that victory? Can they do the same thing? I really do not know. If Jarvis here can find a pick, that will be absolutely huge, but he's going to get snuffed out by Wimpy. Incredible reaction time there from Wimpy. He's able to kind of shut down the Legion and force him back upstairs, and it kind of corners the Legion to a position where he can't rotate down yellow. They probably have his spiral rotate, and the only way he can get back down to site is potentially going all the way through the back, and at that point he's very disconnected from where the push is going to be coming from.
Joe have opened up the wall in two different spots, one for the plant by White Van and the other just trying to open things up for another kill, but again, Prod going big and trying to keep it that way. I think the point about Jarvis trapped upstairs doesn't matter as he finds a kill on rethinking, so he's positioned himself properly above Piano and he's got Legion Mines to stop anyone from coming upstairs before he knows exactly what's going on. The read from the Ash will net another kill as Prophecy continues to carry on kills for his squad. He will be shut down by Maestro as finally he comes back inside, and now Prod finally down, but not before Jarvis makes his way all the way back down. Diffuser in front of White Van, and Wimpy needs to find a 1 versus 2, and PogChamp continue this momentous streak on Joe's map pick. What is going on?
Once again, they lost the Jaeger early, and it didn't matter. In a 4v5 situation, even when Joe Esports has control of that main garage wall and could walk into site at a moment's notice, it seems like PogChamp is sitting pretty. They were able to find picks here, they were able to find picks there, and it seems like Joe, once again, their push is disconnected and way too reliant on players making individual plays. They had control of Piano, they opened up holes in Piano, but Jacob, I have a question for you. Did you see anyone from Joe use those Piano holes? Did they have a peek downstairs into the site? Because from what I saw, I don't think they did.
Even if they did, I don't think they were positioning themselves appropriately. They still had plenty of people looking to clear roamers out on the floor directly above rather than trying to go for something that might clear someone off a wall. They already...
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
Clear some stuff off of the... or clear things off of garage wall. That happens from time to time where you still want to create holes in the floor to open up, you know, just straight up kill holes and keep on applying pressure. But yeah, at least for the moment, Jarvis was doing an incredibly good job a floor above Piano, making sure that Joe didn't even have a chance to use that.
They cornered Jarvis off, and at that point I was like, okay, he's basically useless this round. He's either going to have to rotate the backside of site, or he's going to get picked off from somebody rotating up yellow stairs. I'm pretty sure we're going to be seeing a rehost here. We just got to get confirmation from the admin. So unfortunate there, as we are going to be having a quick change here and maybe just some time for both of these teams to talk about what exactly needs to happen in order for them to win out these next couple rounds. We have not got confirmation yet. He has returned, which is a good sign. I don't necessarily know what's going on. So there is not going to be a rehost, so we are going to be good to go. But with that, Jacob, that means it's a 5v4 situation right at the beginning.
This is Joe's map pick, but already starting a man down, I'm a little bit concerned about Joe being able to ascertain control as we do try to figure out where this rehost can be situated. So we will jump back and do it in just a few seconds, but the thing to keep in mind here is it's a 3-1 disadvantage on Joe's own map pick. The momentum that PogChamp had from the previous map is carrying over. They're doing a very good job of isolating everything that Joe is doing in very critical moments and proving that once you don't even need to have the most orthodox map control in the world to ensure that you can keep the attackers locked out. Consulate does have a tendency to play out that way, but Joe need 2 rounds. They need this to go 3-3 on Consulate if they want to have really any chance of pushing it all the way to Oregon with the way they're currently playing.
I think the problem with Joe is the fact that on every single map in Rainbow Six Siege, the attacking team has a checklist, right? And on Consulate, that checklist stays relatively the same, especially on a site like downstairs. You want to get control of Piano, you want to open up that main garage wall, and depending on how well that goes and how many bodies you have left, then you can do a split take, then you can just do a main garage take. It just kind of depends. The problem with Joe is the fact that they got control of Piano, they've done that checklist, they've opened up garage, they are stuck in this position where they need to decide, do we do a split take, do we just push down yellow, do we push into garage, and then they don't use the control that they just got. They do the checklist, and then they're just like, all right, let's just do whatever we want. They don't use the assets that were gained from finishing that checklist off. And I don't understand why that's happening. This isn't a pattern we've seen from Joe in the CL season prior. It seems like they're just losing their identity a bit. They're kind of just, again, relying way too much on individual plays, and this is not something we have seen from them before, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what it could be dumbed down to, but potentially it could be those roster moves coming back to bite them just a bit.
And you did say when you talked to them previously that they were trying to deal with a couple of internal issues on their side. They obviously didn't want to specify what that was, but if we know that Joe is kind of going through a bit of internal turmoil, then we might be able to make an assumption that not everything is necessarily right downtown for them. I don't know what it's going to take for them to come back, other than they do seem to be doing one thing right, and that's starting the checklist, just not going all the way through with it. They have the ability to be aggressive. They are more than capable of putting, everything on the line and just going all the way in at moments when PogChamp doesn't expect it. That's what we saw on Cafe. That is what we saw on the round where they won only 2 rounds prior on Consulate. But the issue seems to come from starting something and then not following through with it. They can ascertain map control, they can blow open a wall, they can do something right, even get an opening pick, but more often than not, it then takes them too long to do anything else meaningful over the course of a round, and we're seeing PogChamp sit back, not worry about playing super aggressively, and then when the cards are no longer in Joe's favor, just going full force and ramming their fist down their throat.
Yeah, and it seems like Joe, they're doing all the hard stuff very quickly. Opening up garage wall, getting control of the map, getting control of roamers, pinning out roamers, putting roamers in positions where they're probably going to get fragged out. And then after they do all that, they just go dead silent, like you said. But we are on Joe's map pick. Obviously, they have more stuff prepared. They need to have more stuff prepared if they want to bring this round in. My apologies, bring this map back in their favor. I mean, do you think this rehost is going to help them kind of bring things together? Are they going to be able to talk about their problems? Are they going to be able to talk about the issues and then go into this? I kind of want to call it a second half, but it's not necessarily the second half yet. But go into this portion after the rehost and be a little bit better, be a little bit more explosive, be a little bit more, I guess, on point with their checklists and do things properly? Or will we see the same old Joe here, and will PogChamp just run away with this game?
Well, we don't have tactical timeouts in Challenger League, so I'm inclined to say yes, because technically we've had 2 timeouts. We've had this one, which is all the way in the middle of a map, and then we had one that was in between on the map break. But now this one is far more advantageous because Joe are already able to determine what PogChamp is doing to stop them dead in their tracks. And now, because they have this second to figure out what's going on, they're then able to make up a different game plan or try to find a method of correcting things for themselves. The issue here, though, is that PogChamp are staying resolute. I don't really know if there's anything that's like broken through, other than that when Joe gets aggressive and play things, I guess more by the book or by their book, they're able to do something that is something not very many teams have been able to do, and that's punch PogChamp in the face. The last time that really happened was last week, and that was a 2-0 rout of PogChamp by the team that's currently in the I believe it's the championship, we can call it, for US Challenger League, and that's rent-free. They're playing Last Dance right now as we speak, as this recording is happening. But the thing to keep in mind is that that's a 2-0 rout by a team that has considerably more experience, especially at Tier 1 competition, than Joe Esports have. They've got 2 players who used to play in Tier 1 competitively at one point, but now they've kind of had to find their footing. They've tried through a couple different teams, and PogChamp have almost the same roster for the past 6 months, and all they've done is add more Pro League experience to it, or they've added a lot more people who are super versatile. I don't know what Joe is trying to do to counter that, other than let's go in, start something, and then see where we go from there. It's almost like our plan will work up till this point, and then from there we'll get the rest of the intel that we need, and then just try to play it out in the moment as the round timer is ticking down.
Yeah, it seems like they're playing it by ear. It seems like they do something, they get to a point in the round, and they're like, all right, let's hope we can get this here. Let's hope we can do this. And there's way too much hoping. If Joe plans on fixing their mistakes, they have to look in the mirror and check out the damage that's right behind them. These last 3 rounds, it's fresh. It's fresh in their mind, and they've made a lot of mistakes that they can fix fairly easily. Reminder, men don't stumble over mountains, they stumble over molehills, and there's a lot of molehills scattered throughout these last couple rounds for Joe. And here we go. We're going right back into this matchup. Let's see if Joe can fix those molehills and fix those mistakes and get right back into it.
Remember, we are playing for that third place spot, and PogChamp already have one map off the board, and right now, they do have the momentum from Cafe in full swing. This break from Joe will need to bear some sort of fruit in order for them to really find their footing again. So we are playing for that additional cash prize, we're playing for the placements, and PogChamp are still very much in the running, even though we're only at the end of stage 1, to try to make a run for that Pro League relegation spot. If they're able to maybe even finish within the top 2 next stage, that is most assuredly helped by a strong finish here.
So we are going to be moving in here. We have a very long load time. You don't normally see this on PC. I thought we were playing console for a second, but we're going to be hopping in finally. And this is the moment where I think the coach for Joe can prove his worth. Has he been able to address the mistakes that we've seen? Has Joe been able to recover from the little molehills scattered throughout? We don't know. It's time to find out. Oregon, like we said, is very heavily in PogChamp's favor. So if Joe wants to win this series out, in my opinion, they kind of have to just win it out completely from here. A 7-3 route, super big on momentum, super big on terms of just like getting your head back into the game, because Oregon is going to be a very tough matchup for Joe.
At least for this scoreboard off of Rehost, you can kind of wipe the slate a little clean on, the way that you were performing previously, because now everything says 0-0. You don't have any kills, you don't have any deaths either, and you can start to use that as a way to build your confidence back up. Now, PogChamp are opting to go for the lobby bomb site as opposed to taking console for what would have been their second time, but lobby was actually the only site that they lost to Joe so far over the course of this defensive half, and I think Joe can use that as a sign that, hey, we can go back and win this site again, but they also need to be cautious because there's obviously a good reason for why PogChamp wants to go back to it. It's not something that you misclick, it's something that you select and have a very obvious plan for.
As we're going to be moving in here, you obviously can see that the control up top is quite extensive, even with the site not being upstairs. You have an ACOG plane upstairs. You also have the smoke plane upstairs as well, and that's going to prevent quite a lot of entry from the side of the attack, considering, well, you also have to watch lawn angles, you have to worry about smoke canisters, and there's a lot you have to burn through if you want to get anything going. And, well, you burn through one of them and you put them in the grave. Say goodbye to your smoke very early on. No canisters were dispatched, and Trippin is already dead. Great entry there from Wimpy.
Wimpy can grab the kill, and already, I believe that's Rethinking who's opted to go straight back outside admin. He kind of did the same thing he did before. He makes one hole in a wall, and then he just kind of leaves again.
Yeah.
Sweater wasn't able to get Trippin's refrag, so now he has top floor control all by himself, and I think Joe recognized this. One drone taken down, but they know his position, and he knows that he can't move out of there too much. Joe can get more map control up top, but once the dock has been cleared out, I think this could be the way in which Joe bounces back. They can take vertical control, but only after the dock's been killed, and that will be the thing that Nomad tries to push. The MP5 comes back down, but he will still win the fight on this very last bullet. And flash grenades, again, no refrag potential, as now the dock is the one counting his lucky stars. He'll stem himself back up and try to go for fight number 2, but his position upstairs is still very crucial to PogChamp's defense.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the way that Sweater is playing this. Instead of playing his life and dropping off and helping those back in sight, he's just going for kills. He's getting aggressive. He's getting in the face of Joe, and it's working relatively well. The problem is everybody else isn't doing their job as well. Jarvis goes down. Trippin went down earlier, and that's a Legion and a Smoke off the board. Both of those operators, you really don't like losing early on, and oh my gosh, that was as close as you could get for another kill there.
Things are they've slowed down. Joe continues to do this. They will slow down at the moment when they need to start picking up the pace, and right now Sweater is making them pay, and so is Prod downstairs on Spiral Staircase, but it's still a 2 versus 2, and for the first time, a plan has occurred in this match. Hallelujah, it's not a fallacy, but Prod, 2 more massive kills, a triple sitting on Spiral, and we were just about to celebrate.
No, we were.
About to be...
We were, for sure. We
Big
were
play
100%.
from Prod. Oh my word.
I was like, finally, we got a plan. Let's see what Joe can do, and the round's over.
That's it. Oh my gosh. Prod.
4-1.
And remember, that's 3 kills in 1 round. He had, at the very least, it had to have been 6 kills before the rehost.
Yeah, I think it was
6 I think it was.
7.
That man's around the 9 to 10 kill mark, and we're not even on their attacking half. Good grief, this man is popping off right now.
A 5-1 half. I have a question for you, Jacob. If this goes to a 5-1 half, Do you think Joe has a chance? Can they bring him back?
No. Straight up, I don't think that they have enough in the tank. They needed to use that rehost as a way to get their heads back in the game, but they wouldn't have had Jarvis. Oh, sorry, not Jarvis. They wouldn't have had Prod going for that massive 3K were it not for the way that they were positioned. They still hadn't flushed the dog out of top floor nearly fast enough. And if they had been able to do that, I would have given them more of a chance in that round. And maybe even in this round, it could very well have been sitting at 3-2 rather than 4-1. But the top floor clear stopped at one operator last round. They had one guy left to get, and they were so split up trying to take over different portions of the map before completing steps on that checklist that it makes it difficult for me to believe that they would have had any potential to win unless they were unless they were able to take that dock down way earlier than it actually happened.
It seems like even after that rehost, the nightmares for Joe are beginning afresh. The same mistakes we saw in rounds 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 applied that last round. They got an early pick. They got early control. They kind of ticked off the boxes on that checklist, and then they stalled out. They weren't worried about the sweater up top. They weren't worried about Prod going huge, and then they just bottlenecked their push. They got the plant down, which is progress, but it doesn't really matter if you get the plant down and there's no one there to help cover it. Everyone was dead, and it was an easy defuse basically 5 seconds after the plant was successfully put down. So I don't know, it just seems like Joe isn't addressing their mistakes fast enough, and they maybe don't even know what their mistakes are, and they have to watch this VOD back when this game is over to figure them out and move on. Jarvis, though, he's able to take down Beastly and say goodbye to your Zofia very, very quickly. I think that was a run out right when Zofia was trying to rappel up onto that spiral window. Way too predictable there from the Zofia, and Jarvis is there to capitalize. A huge pick.
Legion's one of those operators that's just super pesky, especially when he's played in a very roam-heavy, aggressive style. He's got those goo mines that'll prick you in the foot, and then when you least expect it, he'll go for run-out kills literally any day of the week. But at this point on console, there are players still playing downstairs for PogChamp. One of them gets taken down by Prophecy, so say goodbye to your Jaeger. However, Prod, this fight on yellow stairs might be the most important part of the round right now. Prophecy is able to scope him down. Oh, he does, but Cade's not looking the right direction, and he'll be forced back away, and he still won't win the gunfight. Prophecy grabs his second kill on the round, and now Joe finally, man count in their possession with another one as Smoke tries to force the issue. PogChamp now on the back foot severely, and Sam Jarvis and Trippin need to hold on to their positions and not let Joe any further into their bomb site.
Prophecy is putting them on a drying rack right now, and he's looking for another kill as Legion makes his way up yellow. He's just going to be sitting here waiting as the plant goes down. Could we get 2 in a row? We just might. So close, and it happens. The plant goes down. Prophecy's looking for another kill, and he just can't find it yet. It's all up to the Legion downstairs below. The call-out comes out from Prophecy for sure, but it doesn't matter because he puts Jarvis in the grave. Just like that, Joe, they woke up, they smelled the coffee, and they're back in this game. A 4-2 split, probably not the most ideal, but hey, it's better than 5-1.
That's a 4K from Prophecy, as that is exactly the wake-up call that Joe needed to force the issue and bring themselves back to at least somewhat even footing. At this point, though, you're sitting at halftime. You can take a moment and refresh and say, okay, our attacks didn't go that well, but after the rehost now, we're sitting at 1-1. It wasn't the greatest spot to sit in before the rehost, but now afterwards, I think they definitely found a way to just punch themselves in the foot a little bit more and just give themselves a burst of adrenaline, especially on Prophecy's angle as he goes massive, just locking down control of yellow stairs before PogChamp really has an answer. But now we make the rotate back onto defense. Joe has won this map twice before and have lost it not at all over the course of this CL season. And remember, PogChamp got beat pretty significantly on this map previously. And there it is, that one time someone went for a diffuser attempt. God, that round history graphic looks a lot different if it's not a skull.
Oh, it is. It is very interesting to see that. Here's the problem, though, Jacob. That last round, Joe won it, right? Yeah, very good. But what was it on? Individual plays once again.
It was.
The fundamentals, the foundation of all of the strats, all of the pushes, all of the holds from Joe haven't been good today whatsoever. It's been reliant, extremely reliant, and I know I sound like a broken record, but I just have to say this over and over and over again. It's been reliant on individual skill and individual plays far too much. What does Joe have to do to negate that?
Cafe saw a lot of the same individual play, especially towards the end, but that's because it was on the attack. And technically, for 12 rounds in a row, Joe was on the attack, and we were seeing that individual play and that same kind of constrictive nature, trying to play all sides at the same time, happened because they're on the outside of a building trying to move in towards it. Now that they sit on the defense, you can play a little bit more of a buddy system and try to pick up the refrags for whenever somebody goes down. If you're able to play more of that game and not get initially picked off nearly as quickly, I think that speaks volumes about what they're able to accomplish, but that's only if they play things a little bit more by the book. And speaking of by the book, we're still going against the grain. We went to split site for our first time on Joe's defense rather than upstairs or back in basement.
Yeah, so you can obviously see the effect of this kind of curveball thrown by Joe, because tripping on Thermite, Thermite's not very useful on a site like this. You would much rather have a Habano, potentially a Maverick, or any other hard breacher besides a Thermite. And, well, Thermite, the tripping, is just going to have to make it work somehow, some way. And say goodbye to Beastly very early on. Castle probably has put down all of his walls, and you just lost a UMP, so technically, I wouldn't even say you lost a gun, considering how bad that gun is, but it is still a body off the board.
Minute and 30 seconds left to go, and it's a Castle just trying to sit on site. So yeah, you're right, it's not the biggest loss in the world because he's already got those panels up, and he's technically done his job. PogChamp have so much top floor control, I don't even know if they know what to do with it, as Joe has not opted to put anybody upstairs nor send anyone up spiral to attempt to pressure it. So they will maintain as much control as they need, and there are 3 nitro cells on the part of Joe. If one of them gets winged up, they could net 2 kills because of the way PogChamp is currently spaced out. I don't know if they're necessarily dead set on using it, but Castle has already maneuvered those castle barricades to reconstruct the maze that Consulate is. And Jarvis, you okay there?
We've seen a lot of those plays today. Just like weird little niche things that happen out of nowhere. And we can see that A control has been kind of gifted to the attacking team, but it's almost a little bit of a trap. Because the moment they go for a plant, like you said, there's 3 C4s waiting beneath, and while rethinking, he doesn't need his C4 to get a kill through the holes, as he's able to just get a shot onto Trippin's head. Down goes the Thermite. Thermite was able to open up the wall, so he did his job, but that still is going to hurt PogChamp just a bit. Sweater and Ghost, though, go absolutely huge, and it's going to be up to the dual C4s here from Clicks and Wimpy to make something happen. One misses, and also Wimpy goes down. It's all up to Clicks. He has a C4 in his back pocket, but he doesn't have his life. And just like that, PogChamp, they're just so good. It seemed as if Joe was trying to rain on their parade as much as possible in that last round. They had the C4s. They threw a curveball with the sight, but unfortunately, the forecast was sunny, and PogChamp 5-2 lead.
The idea for an archive stake is it's almost like you're trying to dig straight down to hit solid gold, because there is so much utility that needs to be cleared out before you have any possibility of getting a plant down successfully. That's why you bring as many nitro cells as you do. You wait for someone to enter the site, perhaps with a pulse, perhaps with anyone else with additional intel. A Meister cam was also placed upstairs, and Teller is waiting for someone to enter and go for a plant. All of that utility is capable of stopping a PogChamp push dead in its tracks. PogChamp recognizes this, gets one hatch open, sends someone else back down spiral, and clears house on Joe Esports without them being able to make a proper adjustment. Everyone just seemed flustered right at the very end, trying to go for a difference maker kill, but ended up exposing themselves as they attempted to put those nitro cells in more advantageous spots to go for those frags. Right now, PogChamp, I don't know if they can be stopped, because Joe need more time on a defensive half before they're able to really figure out where their mindset is. I think if Joe are able to win 1 or 2 more, then they can start building that momentum back up and showcase a little bit more confidence. But PogChamp, they're making Joe look like scared kids, and that's not the way you need to see your opponent.
Yeah, and well, you said Joe just needs more time, and unfortunately they don't have a lot of it, because if they lose one round, if they make one dire mistake, they're staring down the barrel of match point. And we've said it so many times how powerful that match point text is when it pops up at the top of the screen. This is going to be a lobby hold. We've seen great success from PogChamp lobby hold. Now it's time to see if Joe can rain anything of the same. They have not opted to go downstairs to garage, which statistically has the highest sample rate and the highest win rate for the defenders, which is very weird to see, my apologies, considering the fact that Joe, if they make a mistake here, they're on match point, and they're backs are against the wall. If I was them, I'd want to go to the most viable site.
Lobby sometimes is attacked by just trying to take some time outside, going for some utility clear, and then if you're able to storm into site, maybe even going directly for a plant by circle basket, and there's no one playing inside it immediately, the Maestro has opted to take up refuge way back by the spiral staircase, and so far the intel game is still going to be crucial for PogChamp. With 2 minutes remaining, they definitely don't have anything to worry about, especially considering that the top floor control from Joe Esports isn't nearly as intricate as it was for PogChamp. So we can kind of see where these guys are positioned, and right now Jarvis is taking up the same position he did for when it was a Teller's take, and still trying to maneuver himself all the way around all the way around admin office and copy room, opening up holes, making as many rotates as he needs to, and again, making the maze that Joe Esports have tried to set up a little bit less confusing.
Yeah, and Consulate, it works like that almost every single round. The defenders set up something confusing, they set up something that forces the attackers into specific positions, and then it's the attacker's job to just negate those positions, put themselves in positions that give them the advantage. As we can see here, no blood has been shed yet, and there's only a minute left in this round. This is either going to be a very silent round or a very bloody round near the tail end.
Projector control still seems to be the priority, as that's what's been boarded up on both sides with a shield in the back, and there was a lot of utility. Again, we are still seeing a big Jaeger-Womai meta at the moment, especially in North America. I don't think there's been a single round on defense that I can recall that we didn't see both of those come in, which means the utility burn game needs to come out hard and fast. Pressure on projectors coming from 3 different angles to make sure that they have it cleared out, and that's a lot of utility on PogChamp's side, wasted in another nitro cell as it's still not cleared out. This projector hole from Beastly is proving to be PogChamp's downfall with 20 seconds remaining. They haven't cleared him out, and they can't effectively stop a plan from going down because of where he can just sit on projector. More kills from Beastly as he has the most advantageous position in the world to stop this diffuser from being planted. Finally, another one. He cannot be stopped. You cannot leave him in that position all alone. You keep on cleaning up. One more kill for Beastly. Can he find the ace at the very last second? It won't matter, as Joe will stop the diffuser. Good grief, Beastly.
We see it time and time again. Individual plays from Joe that just blow your socks off. You don't expect it to happen, and then it happens. Projector control is incredibly hard to hold for a very long period of time, let alone get 4 kills from it. Beastly going absolutely huge for his team, keeps them in this match, prevents match point, and now we could have ourselves a series here, Jacob. The problem is, can Joe stack one round on top of the other? Can we get 2 unanswered rounds here from Joe? I don't know.
Joe has 3 rounds. First round was a very interesting clear when they were on the attack, but they were still a little bit disjointed because even we, back in round number 3, were still trying to figure out exactly what they were doing. Their second round win was a 4K from Prophecy holding yellow stairs as Ash. A 4K. Their third round...
I know where you're going with this. Beastly, in that first round, round 3, he also got a 3K. So it's individual skill again.
I was gonna make that exact individual point. It's another 4K from Beastly that proves to be what Joe needs, because he's sitting all by himself in a room, and no one from PogChamp, even by a coordinated assault, is able to clear him out effectively. It's one man sitting upstairs, and PogChamp seemed to be completely clueless and allow Beastly to run roughshod. I don't understand how Joe is able to do these incredibly effective takes on either attack or defense, but only have it happen at specific moments when their chips are down. That's the only time they've ever found success thus far.
When they're backed into a corner and the only thing they can do is bite, Joe bites hard. Beastly was trapped in hell in a cell, and he was essentially Satan there. He was just running it himself, and he was absolutely perfect. Lights out, 4K, prevents the plant, does exactly what he needs to do. The problem is that round's over, and you got to focus on this round, round number 9. PogChamp still can push it on to match point, and Sweater has gotten the opening pick on your Vigil, who was roaming upstairs. A lot of map control can be gifted now to the attacking team because they don't have to worry about the Vigil, and also just the presence of a Vigil upstairs, the presence of a Vigil really anywhere, is a scary thought to have as an attacking team, and well, now they don't have to have that thought anymore considering he's dead.
seem to be dealing with the case of a dog roaming around the yellow stairway, and Sweater will very, very quickly make the read and find the frag. So top floor control, not nearly as big of a deal, but it's just proving to be a roam pick game as Trippin finds a kill, which doesn't happen very often for the man who's typically designated to plant. And I don't even believe that the wall's even been opened up. A flashbang will force the Maestro back off of yellow, if only momentarily, but now it's a 2 versus 5 clicks. We do know he can play a Maestro effectively, but right now, this is a 5 versus 2 that happened all across the map. Again, Joe are not in position for refrags, and it's costing them dearly.
Joe were on fire for a moment, but it looks like cold water was poured right on top of them, and the person that did that pouring was Sweater, as he has 3 kills now, and Ghost closes it out. A flawless round there for PogChamp, and that's a great response from... I mean, I don't even know what to say at this point. Joe... They look so good, and then they just turn it off. I don't know. I really am at a loss for words right now, because... it's on one round, it's off one round, it's on one round, and then PogChamp have the lead. That's just it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we find ourselves on match map series point for PogChamp. One more in the books, unless Joe are able to force 3 more rounds and get us to OT, will mean that PogChamp secures 3rd place in United States Challenger League for the first stage of the 2020 season. And I hope that Joe are feeling the coals, are feeling the fire right now, because this is the moment they need to show up and perform, coordinate themselves, work together as a unit, and like you said, I don't want to keep on beating a dead horse, but it is coming down to what a player is able to do rather than what a team is able to do so far in every one of their victories on Consulate. This is a breaking point for them, because it's going to prove whether or not they're worthy of sticking in that top 3 level. They did place in 4th place last season of Challenger League prior to the North American League format that we now know and love these days. That still isn't much of an excuse when you're bringing in so much more firepower and already proven experience in both Beastly and Prophecy. 2 guys who left a previous team together and came over as a duo, trying to see if they couldn't make something of themselves on a different squad. This round matters a lot because it will solidify their spot as a 5-star.
You know what's also interesting to note is the fact that Bruh, who finished 2nd place last year, is fighting for 7th and 8th place as we speak.
That's very true.
The progress of every single team in CL this season has been very different. Some teams have improved drastically, some teams have improved very little, and it shows in the scoreboard, it shows in the leaderboards, it shows in every single scoreline we have seen so far. Joe Esports, I think, finds themselves in the middle. They've improved quite a bit, but they've also lost a bit of their their touch, considering they had 2 major roster moves. And I think that's what's kind of put them back just a tad. I also agree with the PogChamp notion because, well, PogChamp, at one point, they were the champions of CL last season, and now they're fighting for 3rd and 4th place. They've improved for sure, but just not as much as everybody else around them. 3rd and 4th in Challenger League with this high level of competition is a very tall task. So I'm not trying to dumb down the success for both of these teams, but it's just interesting to see how the teams we looked at as the most dominant last season have kind of fallen off the reins a bit.
Rethinking and Jarvis in a little bit of a standoff here, as neither one is willing to move out of position, but
he's
Sweater,
so
a quick flick
He's
Prophecy.
so good.
There's a reason why we touted Sweater as being so good. It's for exactly that reason, being able to find kills, even in moments when he should have been dead to rights. PogChamp find themselves up a man yet again. It goes with a wall bang. Good night, Rethinking, but Wimpy Kid and Ghost meet, and Wimpy gets the better of that engagement. I do think finally upstairs control has been obtained for PogChamp, and that's kind of evidenced by the fact that Sweater is feeling pretty comfortable to start expending utility. That's not the flash you need, son, but you can definitely find a way around that again. Top floor is still not completely under wraps, as Wimpy will try to hold on to yellow stairs, and he's got the rotates that he needs. He takes Sweater down to half HP, but now he's been full blinded. Will Sweater be able to take advantage? The Doc is still sitting back up. No, Sweater will finally be able to take him back down. We said it a 4 versus 2. The crossroads moment for Joe. This is such a big round for them, and they're missing shots. They're leaving Sweater to just wreak havoc after the rehost. This might be all she wrote for Joe.
They have 2 players to deny them 4th place or 3rd place, and it's going to be Clicks and Beastly. What can they do? In terms of clutch opportunity, these are the two players on Joe that probably have the most of it. Clicks can go nuclear at any moment. Beastly also has a C4. No, he does not. He has the intel, but he's actually used his C4 and it didn't net him a kill. That is a major problem, but there's also another problem. That's for PogChamp. There's only 12 seconds left and Beastly's able to find one on a prod. The push has to come out here. Clicks, he hits his shots. He goes absolutely massive. He just has to get the planter down, but no, he doesn't get him. But it's all up to Trippin. Somehow, some way, the clutch opportunity from Beastly and Clicks has worked, and it's a 2v1 situation. Just watch his cross. That's all you have to do. Trippin could go huge, and he does. PogChamp, they win the round. The diffuser was down. They go absolutely massive and secure themselves third place. Joe, you are so close, yet so far, and no cigar. That's one way to end it, Jacob. That's just incredible.
That was the best round we saw from Joe, but at the very end of the day, that's a bronze medal for PogChamp. First place in last season of Challenger League, and now in the first stage of 2020, they claim a victory and make sure that they stay in that third place podium. Congratulations to PogChamp on what is still overall a very strong season with only one minor hiccup last week, and they proved that it was absolutely not something that will repeat into the second week. A 2-0 victory over Joe is exactly what you need and the confidence booster that you can take into stage 2 and maybe, just maybe, work on that Pro League spot in the future.
When PogChamp was asked to deliver, they did every single time, just like a sent message. And there they are, sitting in third place fairly comfortably as a 2-0 rout on Joe, and also a 7-3 victory on Joe's map pick of Consulate. Joe has to go back to the drawing board. PogChamp has to go back to the drawing board because I know they're not pleased with the third place finish. And well, there's a lot to still be uncovered, Jacob, and I cannot wait to see what happens. That could be it from us today. There has been a lot of format changes. This has been a new CL season. There's been just a completely different look of what we're used to, and I gotta say, I've enjoyed it quite a bit, Jacob.
I've enjoyed it as well, and I think the best part about this whole thing is that you and I have finally been able to figure out what this whole casting shtick is about, which I think
right?
At the very end of the day, it's always a really entertaining time to be able to do this with you. So thank you for being willing to walk through this with us and with myself as we try to figure out exactly how the North American Challenger League system has been shifting ever since we casted it last time. We've done Canada,
Yes.
We've done the US, but at least for us right now, that is the end of stage 1 for Challenger League and all of North America as a whole. We'll see what we can do about trying to bring you stage 2, but at least for right now, on behalf of myself, Red Cube, our producer Crater, and our observer, I'm forgetting his name at the last second. That's so bad of me. It's Ocho, my man Ocho. I love the guy, but I can't believe I just made that slip. Thank you very much for sticking with us for the community cast of this season of United States and Canadian Challenger League. We'll see you about next time. For right now, we will see you later. Promise.